Chapter 204. Ugly, it's you again. The few of them had just landed on top of the whirlpool when the voice sounded again, as if it had sensed something. Compared to the mischievous voice from before, there was real anger in it this time. In an instant, a column of water rushed towards Ingji. You liar, how dare you come over? Ingji seemed to be used to it. With a wave of his hand, a defensive array appeared and blocked the column of water. Unfortunately, it was not over. Huge waves in the shape of fish tails appeared on the surface of the sea. Wave after wave, they began to attack indiscriminately. Scram, you stupid liar! Ingji looked at the immortals who had been trying to persuade them. Now they had all fallen into the water. Ingji looked at the crowd apologetically. She had no choice but to retreat a few miles away. Only then did the waves on the sea stop. Celestial Emperor Ingji, why did the cloud beast do this? Chun-go asked in a low voice. It was obvious that the attack had been aimed at Ingji. However, the cloud beast was supposed to be his contracted immortal beast, so it shouldn't have attacked him. Ingji's expression changed. He did not know how to explain. After a while he said, "This is a misunderstanding." With that, he subconsciously looked in Lan Hua's direction. His eyes seemed to be filled with resentment and some grievance. Lan Hua felt goosebumps all over his body. Let me explain. Lan Yu saw that he really could not speak. With a sigh, he told him everything that had happened between the cloud beast and Ingji. The cloud sea was different from the other 3 seas and 6 continents. Because of the special environment, anyone who could become the emperor of the cloud sea not only had to be a celestial emperor, but also had to be recognized by the cloud beast. After all, the cloud beast was the cloud sea. If one wanted to live here, one had to get a property certificate. The contract with the cloud beast was equivalent to the property certificate of the sea. Only one cloud beast was born every few million years. When it matured, it would be as powerful as a celestial emperor. When Ingji first started cultivating, there were no new cloud beasts in the cloud sea. Although they did not interact with the other continents, it was not as strict as it was now. Although Ingji's original form was also of the water race, before he became a celestial emperor, he had always been by Lan Yu's side in his human form, so everyone thought that he was a celestial being. Even now, the other continents thought that the celestial emperor of the cloud sea was a human cultivator, and not a demon immortal. In addition, the cloud pool and the cloud sea were very close to each other, so most of the cloud sea floated above the cloud pool continent. Aquatic creatures naturally liked to stay close to water sources, so it was only natural that Ingji would often run from Yunza to Yunhai to cultivate. Over time, he became familiar with the demon immortals of the cloud sea. Later on, when he was the first to ascend to the celestial emperor realm and took over the entire cloud sea, he did not encounter any obstruction or opposition. After the cloud beast appeared, Xiao Chen thought that he would have to spend some time to gain the cloud beast's recognition or fight it directly. He would either become a true sovereign emperor or be eaten by the cloud beast. Surprisingly, the cloud beast was very satisfied with him the first time they met, and it even took the initiative to form a contract with him. As a result, he became the cloud sea sovereign king. It could be said that among the 10 celestial emperors, he was the person who ascended to the position of celestial monarch the easiest. After a few thousand years, perhaps even the heavens felt that they would be letting the others down if they didn't give them some suffering. As the cloud beast grew up and became more and more intelligent, it suddenly turned hostile. You ugly liar! To think that I thought you were a beautiful lady back then. It turns out that it was all a lie. The cloud beast's childish voice could be heard from afar. How dare you lie to my pure feelings? Humph. I don't want to acknowledge you, you ugly thing. I want to leave this place and find other beautiful ladies. That's what happened, Lan Yu said in a low voice. At once, the 4 of them turned to look at the culprit behind them. Why are you looking at me? I wasn't the one who asked him to wear female clothes. Lan Hua blushed and exploded. The cloud beast mistook me for someone else? Lone Moon, I Ching, Shenge, Shining. So the cloud beast was so happy to form a contract with Ingji back then because it mistook him for a woman. Speaking of which, was it a common problem for incarnation-type spirit creatures To only look at one's appearance? What's more, the cloud beast actually took thousands of years to realize that Ingji was a man. Was it too slow to react? Or was Ingji too good at acting? The cloud beast is still immature. It has the temperament of a child. Celestial Emperor Ingji sighed, looking like he was having a headache. It threw a tantrum, and I couldn't do anything about it. The more we tried to stop it, the more it wanted to go out. It insisted on going out to find a young lady. Since it's just throwing a tantrum, can't we just find a female immortal to coax it? Why does it have to go out of the cloud sea? The cloud beast probably only wanted to find a pretty young lady to form a contract with. It suddenly realized that Ingji was a man, and threw a tantrum because it couldn't accept it. It could just find a real female immortal to coax it. Anyway, it was still immature. As long as it didn't go out of the cloud sea, it wouldn't cause any trouble. We tried that method. Ingji's expression darkened. But after the cloud beast threw a tantrum, its real body hid in the crystal palace in the deepest part of the cloud sea. It wanted to break through the cloud sea and escape. Usually, it would only create an avatar to come out of the water to cause trouble. To enter the crystal palace, one has to be an exalted immortal. So that was it. No wonder the cloud beast did not come out despite the waves. Its real body was at the bottom of the sea. All the exalted immortal demon immortals in the cloud sea tried to persuade it. Ingji continued. But they were all chased out. Why? Ingji's mouth twitched. It said they were ugly. Everyone. Lone Moon subconsciously looked up at Ingji's face. To be honest, if one ignored some of his masculine features, Ingji's face could really be described as stunning. What's more, Ingji's eyes were more feminine, and he was dressed in female clothes. It was no wonder that the cloud beast would despise other female immortals for being ugly. There was no one left in the cloud sea. I had no choice but to remove the restrictions on the cloud sea. I wanted to invite all the female immortals in the world to come and give it a try. Ingji frowned. The immortals of the cloud sea have never interacted with other continents in the past. It was not easy for some of them to come and give it a try. Not only were they all male immortals, but they all had ulterior motives. It was very annoying. Was that why he set up that sign at the heavenly gates? That's why this matter has not been resolved. Ingji frowned deeply. He was about to ask the few of them if they knew any female exalted immortals that they were familiar with. Shening, who had been chewing on a fruit, suddenly spoke up. Why don't I try? She was quite experienced in teaching naughty children. You. The moment she finished speaking, Lone Moon started to mock her out of habit. Forget it. Didn't Celestial Emperor Ingji say it already? The cloud beast has high standards for looks. Shening tilted her head. Am I not good looking? Lone Moon rolled his eyes and turned to look at her face. Are you good looking or not? Don't you have a... Before he could finish speaking, his eyes were fixed on the familiar yet strange face in front of him. His voice seemed to be stuck in his throat. This was the first time he was looking at her face in such a way. From a man's point of view, she seemed pretty. Chapter 205. She had a chubby little face and a cherry-like mouth. Her eyes, which had always been lazy and lifeless, were wide open at this moment. The corners of her eyes were slightly raised, and her snow-white skin was so smooth that it seemed as if water could be squeezed out of it. There were even 2 strands of a hoge on her forehead that were swaying back and forth. She was not as gorgeous as Chichinyu, nor was she as gentle and beautiful as Ingji, but surprisingly cute. Very cute. The extremely cute kind. *****. Lone Moon felt a thump in his heart, as if he had been stabbed. It had nothing to do with his feelings, but he felt a sense of relief. Holy shit! Why didn't he realize that Shening was actually so good-looking? Why did he feel the urge to snatch her away and make her his daughter? Degree. What's wrong? Everyone looked at Shening confused. She suddenly turned around and pressed her hand against her chest, taking deep breaths. I Ching stepped forward worriedly and pulled Shening over to take a closer look at her face. Master, your face is not... His voice trailed off, and his whole body froze. His usually serious face seemed to have been painted with a layer of red paint. In an instant it turned red. He stared blankly at the face in front of him, and a loud thumping sound came from his chest. as if something was about to rush out of his body. He never knew that master was actually so good-looking. "Hey, what are you doing?" Seeing the two of them suddenly stunned, the others thought that there was really something wrong with Shen Ying's face. They all stepped forward and looked at Shen Ying's face seriously. "Chen Gu, Sect Master Shen, why are you, Lan Hua? Good heart you're not. Holy shit. Ingji. Fellow immortals, why are you so cute, Radish? Get lost. You're not allowed to look. Little Missy is mine. Lan Yu. Sister, how old are you? Do you have a Dao partner? Do you like celestial emperors, the younger ones? Get lost." 4 I-Ching kicked a certain spare tire specialist with the surname Lan away, and pulled out his sword at the same time. Shunning. Motherf asterisk her. Did they not see what she looked like except for Radish? In the center of the sea of clouds, in the Crystal Palace, a short figure was squatting on the golden magic array in the middle of the hall. He was holding something in his hand and poking it with force. Every time he poked the golden magic array, specks of golden light would splatter out, and the talismans on the ground would darken a little. As he smashed it, he muttered to himself, "Humph, that damned liar. Don't think that you can trap me with a stupid array. No one can stop me from finding a pretty big sister." Shening followed him and squatted down. She looked at the thing in his hand and asked subconsciously, "What's that in your hand?" "Teeth." The child didn't even think about it, and replied casually, "What tooth?" It clearly looked like a stick. "Of course it's my teeth." The child continued, "When I was 4,500 years old, I got my teeth replaced. Look, my teeth haven't even grown out yet." As he spoke, he suddenly turned around and opened one corner of his mouth. He gestured for her to look at the empty gums on the right side and said proudly, "My teeth are the hardest things in the sea of clouds." "Oh." Shening nodded in understanding. Something flashed in her eyes. "Since it's so powerful, why don't you bite it open directly?" The child was stunned for a moment. He seemed to think that what she said made sense. His eyes brightened, and he really lay on the ground, opened his mouth and bit at the array. In the end, he successfully knocked his teeth. "Epsilon Omega, Omega, you lied to me." He glared at her angrily and held his teeth that were in pain. "Biting like this, it hurts," Shening said seriously. "It won't hurt if you knock it all off." You, humph. I'm angry. I'm ignoring you." The child snorted angrily, and turned around to continue using the huge tooth in his hand to smash the array. He had just knocked twice when his body suddenly stiffened. As if he had just reacted, he turned to look at the person beside him in shock. Who are you?" He sat on the ground and stared at her with wide eyes. "When did you come in?" "Oh, I came in when you said you wanted to find a pretty young lady." The child's face paled. He glared at her even more angrily. "I'm warning you, don't try to stop me from breaking the array. Otherwise, I'll eat you up." With that said, he purposely bared his white teeth. "Who said I was going to stop you from breaking the array?" She was only here to persuade him not to leave the sea of clouds. The child paused and glanced at her suspiciously. "Isn't that so? Then why are you here?" Just as he finished asking, he suddenly thought of something. "You were sent here by that liar, weren't you?" "Humph. I've seen all the female immortals in the sea of clouds. I won't like you. You also. He suddenly stopped mid-sentence. His eyes widened as he stared straight at Shen Ying's face. He had never seen this young lady before. She was quite pretty. If it was her. He thought of something, and his face suddenly turned red. He said awkwardly, "Ahem. If it's you, I'll be fine. Then I'll reluctantly agree to let you be my beautiful big sister." "Oh, is it that simple?" He was indeed obsessed with looks. Then, she was just about to persuade him. The child suddenly rushed over and grabbed her hand. "I'll eat you right now." After saying that, it suddenly opened its mouth, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth, and bit down on her wrist. Then with a crack, a tooth fell out. "It hurts, it hurts, it hurts." He covered his bleeding mouth and gasped for air. "Was little Missy so hard? Why did you bite me?" Shening was also stunned by this naughty child's sudden action. He looked aggrieved. "It was the demon immortals who told me that if I meet a beautiful lady, I have to eat her." What the hell? Who in the world had told it such dirty words? That's not what they mean. I don't care. The little cloud beast was anxious. It wiped the blood from its mouth and suddenly changed back to its original form. A huge fish that was more than 10 times bigger than the Crystal Palace appeared in front of it. It seemed to cover the sky. What a huge fish! It's not easy to find a beautiful lady that I like. Its voice came from above, its tone full of arrogance. Although you're a little short, a little skinny, a little fierce and not gentle, but I still want to eat you. Thank you for your whole family. And, most importantly, your chest is a little too small. I like big ones. You're too flat. The corner of Shen Ying's mouth twitched. Flat. Flatter than Yingji. She felt a buzz in her head. This sentence began to replay in her mind. Flatter than Yingji, flatter than Yingji. But since I've swallowed it, I won't be able to see it anymore. So be it if it's small. As it spoke, it suddenly opened its mouth. In an instant, the seawater around it twisted, forming a huge whirlpool in its mouth. Everything around it was sucked towards the corner of its mouth. Just as it was about to be swallowed, Shen Ying suddenly reached out and grabbed one of its sharp teeth. Little cloud beast. She suddenly grinned and said word by word. Did anyone tell you that little animals that talk nonsense will be eaten? Sure enough, children are the most annoying thing. The cloud beast paused. It felt an aura that covered the sky and the earth and rushed towards it. With a cracking sound, the tooth that was caught was instantly crushed into powder. Before it could even react, before it could even move, it felt a weight on its head. With a loud bang, the fish head landed heavily on the bottom of the sea. Its vision turned black. Suddenly, the entire sea echoed with someone's exasperated voice. You're the King Flat Princess. Airport. Soup dumplings. Fermented rice balls. It didn't say that. So 1 minute later. Are you still going to eat me? Sob, sob, sob. I'm not eating anymore. You want to leave the cloud sea? I'm not leaving. I'm never leaving. You just said. Your chest is the biggest, especially big. So big that I can't even see your face. Chapter 206. Above the cloud sea. Will the fellow immortal inside be all right? Yingji looked worried. Lady Shen looked like an earth immortal. Although he did not know why these people were so confident that she could enter the Crystal Palace, he knew the cloud beast's character very well. He could not help but worry that something might happen to her. Don't worry, Celestial Emperor. Shen Ying knows what she's doing, Lo Moon replied. After some thought he added, should. What the hell should he mean? He was even more worried now. The whirlpool on the sea has disappeared. Someone suddenly exclaimed. Everyone paused and turned to look. Indeed, a few miles away, the whirlpool that was sealed by the golden array had disappeared. The surface of the sea was calm again. Even the occasional waves had stopped. The whirlpool had disappeared. The only possibility was that the hole that the cloud beast opened at the bottom of the sea had closed up. Yingji rejoiced. Indeed, an immortal came to report that the water under the cloud sea was no longer leaking. He heaved a sigh of relief. It looked like the cloud beast had been persuaded to come down. The few of them waited for a while longer. Then, they saw a translucent bubble rising from the bottom of the sea. It parted the seawater and flew towards them. Inside the bubble stood 2 figures, one tall and one short. The tall one was Shen Ying. The one beside her looked like a half-grown child. He must be the cloud beast. Yingji. Before they could get close, the cloud beast suddenly rushed out of the bubble. It plunged into Yingji's arms and started crying. Wah! I will never despise you again. I will never leave the cloud sea again. The young lady outside was so scary. Yingji paused. He looked at the cloud beast, who had suddenly changed its attitude. It was even more clingy than when it did not know its gender. He did not know how to react. After a while, he patted the cloud beast's little body. He sighed and said, It's good that you've thought it through. How did you do it? Lo Moon looked at Yingji. Without the cloud beast controlling the bubble, Yingji was back on the sword. Everyone had heard how the cloud beast had despised Yingji. Why did the two of them forget their differences in less than 5 minutes after Shen Ying went in? Was she that eloquent? Nothing much. I was just trying to reason with him, Shen Ying said calmly. Oh, Lo Moon nodded. Suddenly, he thought of something and froze. Wait a minute. Wasn't Shen Ying's method of reasoning, turning around to take a look, Zhang Xian's mouth twitched. What was going on with the cloud beast's swollen face? You did it, didn't you? Thank you, fellow immortals, for helping my cloud sea resolve this crisis. Yingji thanked them sincerely and looked at Shening gratefully. Thank you for your hard work, fellow immortal. If you ever need my help in the future, Yingji will not hesitate to help. It's okay. Every family has a couple of naughty kids, Shening replied casually. The child in Yingji's arms shuddered. He buried his head even deeper and did not dare to look back. Since this matter has been settled, we shall not disturb you any further. Lone Moon chuckled and stepped forward to take his leave. While Yingji had not noticed, he hurried away. Everyone, are you leaving so soon? Yingji's face was filled with reluctance. She subconsciously looked at Lan Hua, her eyes filled with longing. Lan Hua shuddered and rubbed the goosebumps off his body. He even shoved the radish in his hand back to Lone Moon. He urged, hurry, hurry. Don't we still need to find Xa and Han? With that said, he turned and flew out. Ahua! Yingji wanted to stop him, but the cloud beast was still holding her. Everyone hurried to catch up and flew out of the heavenly gate. Where are we going now? Lan Hua asked. Bosi the Void Land, Lone Moon replied. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua. Although the Bosi Celestial Emperor has already investigated that place, Chengu explained. Bosi is not far from here. We can go and take a look on the way. I know that, but... Lan Hua's mouth twitched. He turned and glared at Lan Yu. Why are you following us? What business do you have here? What does it have to do with you where I go? Lan Yu glared back at him. We'll settle our differences later. Don't think I'll let you off. With that said, he suddenly turned to look at Shening, his eyes shining. Instantly, he looked like a gentle young master. He smiled kindly and said, Miss Shun, this trip to the Void Land is very dangerous. Why don't you let Lan Yu go with you? He can protect you. Shening hesitated. Were they close? Don't worry. I'm a celestial emperor and a talisman cultivator. I have as many defensive talismans as I want. Do you need talisman papers, talisman spirits, talisman treasures or talisman arrays? With that said, he took out a stack of talismans as thick as a dictionary from his storage bag and stuffed them into Shen Ying's hands. Everyone, speaking of which, was giving away wealth, a good tradition of the Lan family? Winky face, what are you trying to do? Before they could react, Lan Hua exploded in anger. He stood between the two of them and glared at him warily. Are you trying to get rid of me through kindness? Dream on. I'm warning you. If you have any problems, come at me. Don't even think about touching her. You're allowed to steal my people, but I'm not allowed to steal yours? Who stole your people? You're still denying it. I wasn't the one who made your girl like me. I didn't do anything. If it wasn't for you, would they have treated me like that? What has it got to do with me? Seeing that the two of them were about to quarrel again, I Ching finally could not help but summon his sword. Enunciating each word, he said, Master, who do you think I should kill first? These two little bastards who stole his master. Lone Moon. Chengge. Shening. Lan Yu's thinking was actually very simple. His brother stole his girl, so he had to get it back. All these years, apart from his mother in the mortal realm, Shening was the only person of the opposite sex who had appeared by Lan Hua's side. And she was quite pretty too, so she must be Lan Hua's girl. He had to fight for her. Lan Hua's thinking was even simpler. This troublesome brother of his had secretly caused him a lot of trouble in the past. Although the reason was very stupid, it was still understandable. As the big brother, he did not want to argue with him. But it was wrong of him to target Goodheart. The other party obviously wanted to use her to take revenge on him. Although getting rid of Goodheart was good for him. But he could not control himself. The thought of someone harboring ill intentions towards Goodheart made him want to beat the hell out of him. Degree. Miss Shun, I'm serious. Lan Yu turned around and grabbed Shen Ying's hand. He said affectionately, Trust me, I will treat you very well. Why don't you stop going to the void and follow me back to Yunzhe? Bastard, let go of her. Lan Hua summoned his weapon and went forward to grab her. The two of them were about to start fighting. That, Shening suddenly spoke. Her expression was calm. Lan Lu, I'm Lan Yu. What the hell was Lan Lu? Oh, let me ask you a question. Please ask Mississippi. Is being a spare tire addictive? Lan Yu, Lan Hua, I Ching, who was about to kill Lan Lu. Everyone. Crack. They could vaguely hear something shattering. Chapter 207. Perhaps because he recalled the green grassland above him, Lan Yu finally came to his senses and completely gave up on trying to steal Lan Hua's girlfriend. When it came to snatching girls, he seemed to have never won before. Thus, holding a glass heart that had been pierced by someone, he turned around and flew towards Yunzhe without saying a word, leaving behind a dozen talismans. His dispirited look, as if he had lost his life's purpose, made everyone's hearts ache. Lone Moon suddenly understood the phrase, "Do not expose the truth." Shaking his head sympathetically, he happily took the Dharma talismans from Shun Ying's hands. Straight face, let's go. Lone Moon turned and said. It was getting late. Fellow immortal Lone Moon. Just as he finished speaking, Chun Ji's panic-stricken voice came from behind him. I, Celestial Emperor? Lone Moon turned back and his eyes widened. He saw a faint glow appear around Chun Ji's body, but his figure became fainter and fainter. In a short while, his entire body turned into a shadow. This is... Lone Moon was shocked. Instinctively, he reached out to grab Chun Ge, but found that his hand had passed right through him. He immediately conjured a few spells, trying to stop Chun Ji's figure. Lan Hua and I Ching also hurried to set up an array and cast a spell. But there was no effect at all. The few of them could only watch as Chun Ge became fainter and fainter, until he disappeared before their eyes. What's going on? Everyone looked confused, shocked by this sudden change. Lone Moon released his divine perception to search for Chun Ge, but to no avail. Even his aura had disappeared, as if he had never existed. What sorcery is this? I don't know either. Lan Hua, who had the most experience, shook his head. I've never seen it before. Just as he was thinking, the communication talisman by Lone Moon's side suddenly lit up. He had left it in the sect, so that he could contact them in case of an emergency. His heart tightened. Could something have happened in the sect? He quickly took it out, and infused immortal qi into it to activate the communication talisman. Instantly, Yu Hong's anxious and panicky voice sounded from the talisman. Elder, the chicken is gone. What? Lone Moon was stunned. Reflexively he replied, if it's gone, we can buy another one. Invincible sect had many chickens. No. Yu Hong panicked and corrected herself. It's Celestial Emperor Chu Xian. He suddenly disappeared. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He looked at everyone and asked anxiously, calm down and explain clearly what's going on. How did he disappear? I don't know what happened either. Yu Hong took a deep breath. Just now, Celestial Emperor Chu Xian was guiding the disciples in their cultivation. Siyu was exchanging blows with him, but he suddenly disappeared into thin air. Did it turn into a shadow and disappear? Elder, how did you know? It is indeed so. Lone Moon frowned as he recalled Chun Ji's behavior. In a low voice he instructed, all of you, leave the martial arts arena immediately. Gather all the disciples in the front hall, and see if anyone else is in the same situation. We'll be right back. Yes. Yu Hong replied solemnly. He frowned and turned to the rest. Chu Xian is in trouble too. Let's return to Invincible Sect first. He was just about to turn around when he realized that the three people opposite him were not moving. Instead, they were looking at him in shock. Lone Moon, you? Lan Hua's eyes widened as he pointed at him. What's wrong? Lan Hua looked down and cursed. Holy shit. Just like Chun Ge, Lan Hua's entire body was glowing and turning transparent. Most importantly, he did not feel anything strange at all. Father Niu. Shenning reached out to grab him, but grabbed nothing. He was much faster than Chun Ge. In less than a breath's time he had disappeared. The few of them were stunned. Master, what do we do now? I Ching's expression was solemn. Lone Moon and Chun Ge had disappeared too suddenly, and in such a strange way. Shenning looked at her empty hand and clenched it. Let's go back first. I Ching and Lan Hua exchanged a look and nodded. They turned and flew in the direction of Invincible Sect. The few of them returned to Invincible Sect as fast as they could, but they realized that not only was Chu Xian gone, Shorty Xian Tong was also gone. They had also disappeared in the same way. But one day after Chu Xian had disappeared, Lan Hua and I Ching searched the entire sect, but could not find any clues. It was as if they had disappeared into thin air. All the tracking spells were useless. Even the communication talisman on Lonmun's body did not respond. They had wanted to ask Sun Shu to help find them, but they received a reply from the capital saying that Sun Shu had also disappeared. Just like Father Nyo and the others, he had disappeared suddenly. Sect Master. There's a demon immortal who calls himself Little Biao at the foot of the mountain. He wants to see you. Little Biao. Lan Hua paused. What kind of stupid name was that? Let him in. Shenning nodded. A moment later, Celestial Emperor Biaoting flew up hurriedly. The moment he saw Shenning, his eyes lit up. His legs gave way out of habit, and he knelt down in front of her. Exalted Goddess, please save Little Bird. Something has happened to it. What happened to Little Bird? I don't know what happened either. His expression was anxious. Perhaps it was because he and Wu Hong had been in the same boat many years ago. They had experienced the danger of being eaten. The two of them had developed a revolutionary friendship. A few days ago, I went to the Bo Sea with him to help Exalted Goddess find some rare immortal herb seeds. Who knew that he would suddenly disappear while flying? I searched for many days, but could not find any trace of him. When he disappeared, was there a white glow on his body? I Ching asked. How did you know? Biaoting was stunned. Another one. Who did this? Lan Hua scratched his head in frustration. This is already the fourth person. The fifth. Shenning suddenly corrected him. What? Radish disappeared too. That's right, there's Brother Radish. Lan Hua nodded, and became even more anxious. He was sleeping on Lonmun's lap, and disappeared with him. Wait a minute. Radish. Lan Hua's eyes lit up. He suddenly thought of something. Good heart, I have a way to find him. But it's a little troublesome. I think we can only save Lonmun alone. The others, we have to think of something else. What is it? Heart entrapment array. What is that? I Ching asked. This is a trapping array. Lan Hua explained. This array can gather demonic qi and trap people within it, causing them to be corroded by the demonic qi. And once this array is activated, no matter where the other party is, as long as they are within the boundaries of the immortal realm, it can trap them directly. You mean to set up an array here and use it to pull people back? That's right. Lan Hua nodded. But this array is special. It needs a part of the other party's body to set it up. Body. Shenying's mouth twitched. She thought of the pile of dandelions that Radish had given her, and immediately understood. Radish is on Lonmun's leg. Its aura is connected to his. So when Radish is trapped, Lonmun will definitely be pulled into the array. Lan Hua continued. Although he will be affected by the demonic qi, Lonmun should be able to withstand it. Alright, let's do that. Shenning stood up and turned to look for the dandelions. Find Father Nyo first and solve the problem of eating. Chapter 208. Lan Hua said that the back mountain was where Radish usually stayed. Its aura still lingered there, so it was a good place to set up the array. Yu Hong followed his instructions and placed Radish's dandelion in the pit that Radish used to stay in. Lan Hua sat cross-legged on the back mountain, his hands forming seals. Large amounts of black demonic qi spread across the entire back mountain in an instant. Strands of black qi converged to form a huge black array diagram. The surroundings grew darker and darker. The dandelion that was originally overflowing with spirit qi was showing signs of withering. Even the immortal herbs on the ground seemed to have lost their spirit under the corrosion of the demonic qi. But there was still no movement in Radish's pit. There was no sign of anyone at all. Lan Hua's forehead was covered in sweat, and the demonic qi around him was also showing signs of fading. The immortal qi here is too strong. Biaoting suddenly thought of something and said, the demonic qi will be suppressed. Let me help him. With that said, he conjured a seal. A golden immortal flashed, and a golden meridian appeared in the immortal herbs on the back mountain, forcing Lan Hua's demonic qi away. Biaoting hurriedly conjured a rectangular jade box and opened it. He stopped conjuring, and the golden meridian turned into spots of golden light that flew into the box. Exalted Goddess, I've temporarily sealed the immortal meridian here, Biaoting explained as he handed the box to Shining. Without the suppression of the immortal meridian, it will be easier for Celestial Emperor Lan Hua to set up the array. Shining nodded. Thank you for your hard work. She took the box and handed it to Yu Hong, then turned to look at the radish patch on the back mountain. Indeed, after the immortal meridian was sealed, the fading demonic chi became even thicker. Even the immortal herbs on the ground withered, looking like they were about to die. The heart-entrapping array was almost complete. The array diagram on the ground was becoming more and more complete, covering the entire back mountain like a dense spider web. Radish's pit also began to emit a red light, getting brighter and brighter, showing signs of taking shape. It was almost done. At the same time, Lone Moon was sitting in the middle of an array with a serious expression. Radish, did you find anything? No. Radish retracted its long leaves and shook its head. My leaves can't extend out either. They bounce back the moment they touch it. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He had been trapped in this array for several days. The immortal energy in his body was completely suppressed, and he could not move at all. Moreover, the array formation under his feet was very strange. He had never seen it before. It seemed to extend infinitely in all directions, but he could only see less than 2 feet in all directions. Everything else was a white fog. Therefore, he had no idea where he was trapped. Even Radish, who was lying on his leg, was restricted. Only 2 of its leaves could move. Originally, he wanted him to explore the formation, but he didn't expect that even his leaves couldn't reach out. Little Missy will definitely come to save Radish, Radish said with certainty. Don't worry. Lone Moon frowned. Even if he wanted to save them, he had to first know where they were. Based on the situation when he was captured previously, it would be very difficult to find any clues. Just as he was thinking about how to send a message to Shining, the array formation under his feet suddenly lit up. Even the white fog in front of him began to dissipate. He could vaguely see a figure not far from him. Radish, hurry and hide, Lone Moon instructed. Then he looked seriously to his right. The figure beside him became clearer. In a moment, a man in a long blue robe appeared. He looked slightly familiar. Sun Shu. Why is it him? He blurted out. The person opposite him was also shocked. Lone Moon, why are you here? He was just about to explain when a familiar voice came from his left. Lone Moon? It's young Emperor Lone Moon. He turned to look and his eyes widened. Bird. Apui. Celestial Emperor Wu Hong, why are you here too? I don't know. He shook his head. I was already here when I opened my eyes. There seems to be someone else. At his reminder, Lone Moon turned to look. There were indeed a few more figures opposite him. They were a little far away. It was only after the white fog had completely dissipated that he could see them clearly. There was no need to talk about Chengge. There were 4 other celestial emperors from different continents. Lan Yu, Yingji, Jizhe and even Chu Xian. Of the 10 celestial emperors, 6 had arrived. Like him, there was an array beneath their feet. They were trapped in different directions, forming a circle around each other. These arrays were connected to each other, forming a huge array that no one had ever seen before. Brother Lone Moon, you're here too. Chu Xian's eyes lit up when he saw Lone Moon. He began to look around. Where's Exalted Goddess? Is she here? At his reminder, even Jizhe, Wu Hong and Sun Shu hurriedly turned to look for her. No. Lone Moon shook his head. I was suddenly teleported here. She couldn't stop me in time. What's more, I don't know where this place is. As he spoke, he began to look around. This is the Emperor Ascension stage, Chengge suddenly said, his eyes filled with shock. The few of them were shocked and began to look around. It really is the Emperor Ascension stage, Jizhe exclaimed. But who would set up such an array here? Celestial Emperor Chu Xian, you're an expert in array formations. Can you tell what kind of array this is? Chengge asked. I don't know either. Chu Xian shook his head. I've never seen an array like this before. Also, this doesn't look like a simple trapping array. The person who set up this array trapping us here is probably just the first step. I don't know what he's trying to do. Who cares what he's trying to do? Wu Hong said angrily. This array has trapped me for days. Do any of you have any idea how to break it? Everyone fell silent. None of you can do anything? Wu Hong's expression darkened. What kind of damned array is this? It's so powerful. This is not an array. Just as they were thinking, a cold voice rang out from above them. The next moment, a few figures descended from the center of the Emperor Ascension stage. There were 2 men and 1 woman. At the front was an immortal with a long white beard. The immortal chi around him was thicker than anyone else's. He looked kind and righteous. He looked just like the immortal's lone moon had seen on television in his previous life. Celestial Emperor Zichen. The few of them exclaimed. Who? Lone Moon paused. It's the Bo Si Celestial Emperor, Celestial Emperor Zichen. Sun Shu explained in a low voice. Lone Moon understood. So it was him. He took a closer look at the people behind him. No wonder he told Chen Ge that there were no anomalies there when they wanted to go to the void. They were in cahoots. Weren't the 2 people behind him Xan Han and Hui Ling? Master! Hui Ling called out. Little Ling. Chen Ge was shocked as well. Why are you here? Hui Ling was about to walk towards Chen Ge when Xan Han pulled her back. Little Xian, have you forgotten what I told you? But. Hui Ling looked at Chen Ge, who was in front of her. She looked like she was in a difficult position, but she did not go over. Chapter 209. Everyone was a little dumbfounded. Zichen was the most inconspicuous one among all the Empyreans. He was also the first person to ascend to the position of Celestial Emperor. No one knew how long he had lived, or when he became Celestial Emperor. Unlike the Cloud Sea who did not interact with the other continents, Zichen was even more low-key. His cultivation was not very high, and he did not seem to be someone with great aptitude. Compared to the other Celestial Emperors, whose strength was on par with him, his strength was average. He did not participate in the conflicts between the continents. He had always played the role of a mediator. The impression he gave was that he was kind and had a good relationship with the other Celestial Emperors. That was why no one expected him to be the culprit. On closer inspection, they realized that his cultivation level was shocking. The immortal chi in his body was even denser than that of the other Celestial Emperors. Could he have been hiding his cultivation level all this while? It's been many years. How are you, Celestial Emperors? Zichen stroked his white beard. He looked as kind as ever, but his eyes shone brightly. He seemed to have thought of something. Oh yes. I have yet to thank Celestial Emperor Chen Ge for taking care of my daughter for so many years. Daughter? Chen Ge paused. He looked at Hui Ling in disbelief. You, Hui Ling panicked. She hurriedly explained. I just found out. The others were also shocked. They had never heard of Zichen having a daughter. When the divine artifact was born, the immortal realm was in chaos. My daughter and my disciple accidentally fell into the mortal realm. My daughter was accidentally reincarnated. Zichen looked at Hui Ling tenderly. I thought I would never be able to find her. I did not expect Celestial Emperor Chen Ge to help me find her. So Hui Ling's past life was so powerful. Also, disciple? Lone Moon caught the keyword and turned to look at Xan Han. That's right. Xan Han was my disciple. Zichen did not seem to be afraid that they would find out. He said it out loud. Everyone's expression darkened. Xan Han was his disciple. It was no wonder that ever since he ascended, his cultivation level had risen so quickly. In less than 10,000 years, he had become a Celestial Emperor. He was originally from the immortal realm. What do you want by bringing us here? Chu Xian asked loudly. Zichen only smiled and did not answer. Instead, Xan Han stepped forward and said, I just asked the few Celestial Emperors to help me with a small matter. With that said, he pointed around them. Everyone should know where this place is, right? Everyone was stunned. They did not know why he was asking this. Of course, they knew about the Emperor Ascension stage. The Emperor Ascension stage is just a name. Xan Han's usually cold face lit up with excitement. A long time ago, this was where the heavenly pillar was. It was the divine pillar that connected the immortal and divine realms. Immortal world. This time, everyone was truly shocked. There was actually such a place in the immortal world. It's a pity that the god world destroyed the heavenly pillars millions upon millions of years ago, leaving no immortals in the immortal world capable of ascending to the god world. This Emperor Ascension stage is just a seal. His expression turned cold as he glanced at everyone and said, "That's why I've invited everyone here today, because I want you to help me reconnect the heavenly pillars and reopen the door to the god realm. This is a great matter that will benefit the entire celestial world." Everyone was shocked. The highest cultivation level in the celestial world was the Celestial Emperor. It was not that no immortal had ever wanted to become a god. It was just that no one had succeeded. "If that's the case, we can discuss this properly. Why do you want to capture us?" Ingji could not help but ask. Xan Han was about to answer when Sun Shu guessed his intention. He spoke first. "Your goal is the divine artifact. Young Emperor Sun is indeed wise. You are indeed from the Flowing Flame clan. How did you?" Sun Shu's eyes widened. How did Xan Han know his identity? Apart from Lone Moon and the others, he had not told anyone else. There were no records of the Flowing Flame clan in the immortal world. "Of course I know about the Flowing Flame clan, which manufactures divine artifacts." Xan Han's expression turned even colder. He said disdainfully, "If not for your clan, the immortal and divine realms would not have gone to war. Fortunately, there was a way to salvage the situation." Sun Shu's expression darkened. He was disgusted by Xan Han's words, but he did not retort. Although the crowd did not know what the Flowing Flame clan was, when they looked around, they realized that everyone here possessed a god artifact. "Little Han, it's about time," Zichen suddenly reminded him. "Yes, master." Xan Han nodded. He conjured a spell, and the entire Emperor Ascension stage's array lit up. Everyone felt the restraints of the array grow stronger. After Xan Han was done, he turned to look at Hui Ling. Hui Ling was still hesitant. She glanced at Chen Ge with a worried look on her face. "Junior sister Xianair, you promised me," Xan Han urged. Hui Ling gritted her teeth, as if she had made up her mind. She walked to the center of the array and conjured a series of spells. Chen Ji's expression changed. He looked at her in disbelief. This spell was, before he could speak, he felt a sharp pain in his divine consciousness. The divine artifact that he had been nurturing in his divine consciousness flew out uncontrollably and landed in Hui Ling's hands. That was the spell to control the divine artifact in his body. Little Ling Yu. Chen Ge could not believe that she would use the spell he had taught her against him. "Master." Hui Ling looked at him, tears streaming down her face. Her eyes were filled with conflict and grief, but surprisingly, she did not feel guilty at all. "Please understand, disciple. Father said that only these divine artifacts can open the seal on the heavenly pillar. This is for the sake of the immortal realm, for the greater good." The more she spoke, the more determined she became. It was as if she was the embodiment of justice. Everyone was shocked. They looked at Chen Ge sympathetically. He was probably the first person in the immortal realm to call such an act of betraying his own master a righteous cause. Chen Ge spat out a mouthful of blood, due to the backlash from forcefully taking out the god artifact. His eyes widened even further, as if he had just seen his own disciple clearly. "Master!" Hui Ling exclaimed. Instinctively, she wanted to go over. "Little Xian," Zichen suddenly said. Hui Ling stopped in her tracks but did not go over. She continued to look at Chen Gu pitifully and said innocently, "Master, he's my father. I have to listen to him. You can understand little Ling, right?" Chen Ji's expression turned cold. He closed his eyes, as if he did not want to look at her anymore. He felt a chill in his heart. He had saved her from the demons of the lower realm and brought her to the upper realm. He had never treated her badly. Because of what happened to her when she was young, he favored her more than any of his disciples. Even when he saw her appear here unscathed, he wondered if Xan Han had coerced her. He did not expect her to know that because of his previous reincarnation, he had been using the divine artifact to nurture his primordial spirit, and could not take it out easily. She could attack him without hesitation for the sake of a father, whom she had only known for a few days. Moreover, looking at her now, she did not seem to have regained her memories of her previous life. For some reason, he suddenly remembered what Xin Ying had said a few days ago, when they left the invincible sect. "You're not bad, but you're a little blind." He thought she was joking at the time. He really was a little blind. Chapter 210. Little Xian, we don't have much time. Xian Han reminded her again. Only then did Hui Ling retract her gaze. She received the divine weapon from Chunge and took out another one. It was the divine weapon that Biaoting had lost, the six-flame pearl. She had no idea when it had landed in their hands. She took a few steps forward and recited a long string of incomprehensible spells. Everyone felt a sharp pain in their divine sense. The divine weapons that had been nourished in their divine sense flew out uncontrollably one after another, stopping around Hui Ling. The immortal qi in their bodies backfired, and they all vomited blood. Apart from Lone Moon, who had no intention of keeping the divine artifacts in his storage bag, everyone else was seriously injured. Zichen tossed out the last divine artifact. All the divine artifacts flew into the center of the array, including the six-joint sword. There were 11 divine artifacts in total. The array that had been restraining everyone suddenly emitted a blinding white light that enveloped the entire Emperor Ascension stage. The divine artifacts slowly disappeared into the light, as if they were melting into the array. In less than half a minute, they could no longer be seen. The next moment, a pillar of light shot up into the sky. It seemed to connect the heavens. "The heavenly pillar!" Xian Han exclaimed. He looked at the pillar of light excitedly. "One more step," Zichen reminded him. Xian Han paused. "That's right, there's still the realm gate. It's not open yet." He took out something that looked like a jade gourd and conjured a seal in the middle of the array. Immediately, a green-robed woman appeared in the middle of the array. "Miss Xian Tong." Chun Gu was the first to react. He tried to get up in shock, but was restrained by the array. Lo Moon was shocked too. Why was this unlucky child here? She did not have a divine artifact on her. Xian Tong looked at Chun Gu blankly, then at Lone Moon. Elder Lone Moon." She stood up and was about to go over when Xian Han used his immortal qi to form a chain and pulled her back. Xian Han. Before Lone Moon could speak, Chun Gu was already panicking. "What are you doing? Let go of Miss Xian Tong." Xian Han ignored him. Instead, he conjured a seal and pointed at Xian Tong's forehead. Xian Tong felt a large amount of immortal qi surging towards her primordial spirit. In the next moment, she couldn't take it anymore. With a flash, she transformed back into a snow-white fox with 9 long tails behind her. Rumor has it that the 9-tailed white fox is a descendant of the god race and has an ancient bloodline. A smile flashed across Xian Han's face. He placed Xian Tong in the middle of the array and scanned the crowd. "Although you're not willing to sacrifice yourself, with the Celestial Emperor's cultivation, you can open the Divine Realm's realm gate." As he spoke, he waved his hand and instantly created a dozen wind blades that hit Xian Tong's fox body, creating several wounds that were so deep that bones could be seen. A large amount of blood gushed out. Xian Tong curled up into a ball from the pain, but she was unable to resist. She could only watch as her blood dyed the ground. At the same time, the entire Emperor Ascension stage turned red. Before everyone could react, they felt their bodies become heavy. The immortal energy in their bodies seemed to be drawn by something, flowing into the formation below them. "This array can devour cultivation." Chu Xian was shocked. He tried to activate the immortal energy in his body to resist, but was suppressed by the array. He could not move at all. It was the same for the others. In less than a moment, the faces of those who were already seriously injured became even paler. If this went on, their cultivation would be sucked dry by the array, and they would die. Lone Moon was also anxious. Damn it, why wasn't Shining here yet? She's so unreliable at this critical moment. Just as he was thinking, Radish, who was on his leg, suddenly spoke. "Ugly, I feel like someone is pulling me." Lone Moon diverted his attention to look. Indeed, there was a faint black chi surrounding Radish. Even his primordial spirit was becoming unstable. "This is demonic chi? At the invincible sect." "Boss, what's wrong?" Shening looked at Lan Hua, who was frowning. Lone Moon seems to be restrained by something. The heart entrapment array might not be able to pull him over. And it seems like he's not the only one there. It must be Little Bird and the others. Biaoting said anxiously. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua, try again. Lan Hua's frown deepened. I can feel that their auras are very chaotic. They must have encountered some danger. But I'm not sure what is restraining them. If we pull them over by force, I can't guarantee that the others will succeed except for Radish. Didn't you say they were in danger? We can't care so much now. Biaoting urged. Save as many as you can. Kindness. Lan Hua looked at Shining. Shining and Chef exchanged a look and nodded. Pull. Lan Hua mobilized his demonic qi and activated the heart entrapping array once again. This time, he used all of his power and used all of his demonic qi to control the array. He followed Radish's aura. Following that, the strong restraining force came over. It was like a tug of war, trapping the people on the other side. Lan Hua took a deep breath and activated the array. The entire back mountain was covered in black qi. The green immortal herbs on the ground withered in an instant. The restraining force was getting stronger. Lan Hua gritted his teeth and changed his hand seal, pulling the people over by force. In the next moment, a red light flashed in the pit where Radish was. With a thud, something fell from the sky, instantly filling up the pit below. Then with a splat, another figure appeared beside the pit. Success! Everyone was overjoyed. They rushed over. Radish, eh? Wait, there are 2 radishes. Next to the radish, a carrot that was a size bigger than the radish suddenly grew out. Chef. Yes. Radish, when did it get pregnant? Shining. The leaves on Radish's head shook. A familiar voice sounded. You finally showed up. Shining. Iching. Lan Hua. The others. Who? Are you blind? I'm Lone Moon. Holy shit. Before Lone Moon could finish, he glanced at himself and suddenly let out a deafening cry. What's going on? How did I become a radish? Where's my body? Shining asked tentatively. Father. Nio. What the hell did you do? Lone Moon was going crazy. Everyone subconsciously took a step back. Wait. This is Invincible Sect? How did I get here? Everyone turned to look at a certain someone in the array. Lan Hua. Damn. What has this got to do with me? How did he know that it was only a primordial spirit? But that was not all. In the next moment, there was a series of thuds, 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 one by one. Radishes emerged from the ground like bamboo shoots after the rain. Red, white, purple, green, all sorts of colors. They even formed a circle in a very orderly manner. This is... How did we get here? Weren't we at the Emperor Ascension stage just now? What is this place? Why is there so much demonic qi? Is this another one of Xian Han's schemes? This place looks familiar. Exalted Goddess, why are you here too? I'm a chicken. Exalted Goddess, I'm a bird. Everyone. Chef. Master? I just remembered that I haven't had dinner. Why don't we go back first? Yes, Master, no problem, Master. Lone Moon jumped out of the pit in anger. You too, get the hell back here. Chapter 211. Because Lone Moon and the others' bodies were trapped, and because Lan Hua forcefully activated the array, the two sides were pulling on each other. Therefore, apart from Radish, Lan Hua's primordial spirit was also pulled over. He also attached himself to the immortal plant at the back of the mountain. That was why he became Radish. Coincidentally, the array that bound Lone Moon also bound the others. Their auras were connected. Therefore, it was very obvious that there would be a lot of them. Buy 2 get 7 free. He had pulled all the people in the formation over. Sect Master Shen, we still need to save one more person, Chen Ge said anxiously. Xian Tong is still there. Lone Moon turned his head and counted. Indeed, Xian Tong was not among the radishes. Is he not in the same formation as you? Lan Hua asked. She's in the heart of the array. She's not being suppressed like us. Chen Ge answered. Besides, Xian Han used her as a sacrifice. She's in danger. Her aura isn't connected to yours, so she can't come over. Lan Hua frowned. Besides, her situation is special. It's not her own body. Unless I find something related to her soul or essence soul, and reactivate the array, there's nothing I can do. Chun Ji's entire carrot turned white. I Ching and Shenning exchanged a look. Their souls were related. Yes. What? Hence, each of them kicked Chun Gu into the radish pit. Boss Lan, activate the formation. Thus a minute later, there was another radish spirit in the ground. 5 minutes later, Radish, who finally understood their own situation, was in a complicated mood. Although they had escaped from the Emperor Ascension stage, they were still in the same boat. However, it was only their primordial spirits that came over. Their bodies were still there. This proved that the formation was still working. The few of them became even more worried. However, they were still part of the Celestial Emperor Legion. So they immediately started discussing how to deal with the situation. Although our primordial spirits are here, our bodies are still trapped in that array. We have to hurry to the Emperor Ascension stage. But that formation is really strange. It can even absorb cultivation bases. Can we really break through it? Zichen had planned this a long time ago. He must have been planning to use us to open the realm gate, since the birth of the divine weapon 1,000 years ago. I think he was the one who arranged for his daughter and Exan Han to descend to the lower realm. How could there be such a coincidence that she fell into the same realm as Bai Ti's daughter? That's right. He probably had his eyes on Bai Qiao's nine-tailed fox fairy and wanted to trick her into volunteering for the array. But what should we do now? Even if we head over now, we'll probably be unable to do anything to Zichun and his master with our current bodies. There is no need to worry about our combat power. The main thing is that we were sent here by the heart entrapping array. The Emperor Ascension stage is thousands of kilometers away from here. We won't be able to get there in time. Also, Loman's tone darkened. He turned and shouted at the person beside him. Shening, can you King stop pouring water over my head? Ah! The person holding the kettle behind him was stunned. He tilted his head. Didn't you say you wanted to drink water? It's Radish that says it wants to drink water. I'm Lo Moon. Lo Moon's entire radish exploded. Look carefully at radish before you water it, alright? Any more water and you can make kimchi. Oh, you should have said so earlier. Shening scratched her head. Sai, who asked you to look the same? How are they the same? Even the colors are different, okay? Also, isn't this King your fault? Otherwise, why would they become radishes? I was looking for you. Father Neo, don't mind the details. Details my ass. How are these King details? They're not even human anymore. It's all my fault. Shening hurriedly retracted her hand. She turned the kettle obediently and poured the water over the radish beside her. Air. Exalted goddess, I'm Little Bird. Shening. Then changed to another one. Exalted goddess, I'm Chicken. The next one. Exalted goddess, I'm Jizha. Shening. I Ching. Lanhua. All the radishes. Radish. Little Missy, I'm Radish. Radish, shut up. Lone Moon felt a headache coming on. Why was it still making a fuss about drinking water at a time like this? Pooey. Radish glared at him and used its leaves to take the kettle from Shen Ying's hands. Cough that. Chun Gu coughed softly and changed the topic. Young Emperor Lone Moon is right. Invincible Sect is a long way from the Emperor Ascension stage. By the time we get there, Zichen's array would have been completed. By that time, they would not be able to stop the other party. We can go straight to the heavens beyond heaven first. There's a transportation array at the third heavenly gate that leads straight to the Emperor Ascension stage. That would be much faster, Jizha suggested. No, we won't make it in time. It'll take at least 2 days to get to the heavens beyond heaven. Chunga shook his head. Then what do we do? Chu Xian was getting anxious. The longer our primordial spirits leave our bodies, the harder it will be for us to return to our bodies. What's more, the array on the Emperor Ascension stage will absorb our cultivation. When that happens, he did not finish his sentence, but all the radishes people understood what he meant. Even if they returned by then, who knew how much their cultivation would be reduced? For a moment, everyone was silent. I have an idea. Lan Hua, who was watering the radishes, suddenly spoke up. He scanned the crowd and said mockingly, It's just that. It depends on whether you believe me or not. The bite of 10,000 voids. Lone Mun's whole radish jumped out of the hole, his face full of excitement. That's right. How could he have forgotten about this spell? Didn't Xian Han use this spell to escape? Lan Hua was a demon. Naturally, he knew it too. That's right. Lan Hua nodded. He scanned the radishes on the ground again, and deliberately raised his voice. This array can send people straight to the Emperor Ascension stage. But I can send you there. Just treat it as payment for your food. I won't send anyone else. Why? Humph. Lan Hua snorted. When these celestial emperors attacked me, they all wanted to kill me. Why should I help them? What's more, this is a transportation array of my demon race. Even if I dared to send you there, would they dare to enter? His words were full of sarcasm. The radish's expressions changed. Lan Hua hated the celestial emperors of the 10 directions. Of the 7 people present, all of them had attacked him before. They just did not expect the tables to turn. The situation became awkward. Apart from the green radish Lan Yu, who was still rolling his eyes. You asked for it back then. Lan Chungu started to speak. But Shening suddenly pushed Lan Hua. Stop wasting time. Set up the array. Alright. Lan Hua raised his hand and conjured a seal. Lone Moon. I Ching. The celestial emperors. Didn't they say they wouldn't send anyone? Lan Hua. Son of AB *th. He set up the array very quickly. The demonic qi gathered by the heart-entrapping array had not dissipated yet. In less than a moment, black qi appeared in his hand. He waved it in the air. The air in front of him twisted. A tear appeared in the air. Huge amounts of demonic qi flowed out of it. Alright. Lan Hua turned and glared at the radishes, his face full of reluctance. Yu Hong, look after the disciples in the sect. Also, send a message to Celestial Emperor Bai Ti, especially about Xian Han using his daughter's previous body as a sacrifice for the array. Yes, Celestial Emperor Biao Ting. Please look after the primordial spirits of the other celestial emperors. Alright, no problem. Biao Ting nodded. Lan Hua, look after Xian Tong. Got it. Shening, I Ching, let's go. I Ching summoned his immortal sword. Together with Shening, he picked up Father Nyo from the pit, and was the first to fly into the tear. The radishes had no choice but to follow him. When they passed by Lan Hua, they couldn't help but turn around and nod at him. Thank you, Emperor Lan Hua. I didn't expect you to help us despite our past enmity. When this matter is over, I will definitely pay you a visit and apologize. Lan Hua's mouth twitched. Who would want to help you? If not for my kindness. Hurry, this array won't last long. Seeing that the ground was full of radishes that did not know each other, and that seemed to want to say something, Lone Moon impatiently urged them. He kicked the last green radish that was moving slowly into the array. He picked up Xian Tong from the ground and entered the array. Lan Lu. He really should have killed him back then. Degree. Chapter 212. Lan Hua's sorcery was quite reliable. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the Emperor Ascension stage. The entire Emperor Ascension stage was covered in red light. The light shot up into the sky, blinding. Xian Han stood in the middle of the array, controlling it. Zichun and Hui Ling stood on the other side, looking like they were protecting him. I didn't expect your primordial spirits to escape. How dare you come back to die? Xian Han noticed them immediately. He recognized the new identities of the celestial emperors and snorted. He looked at them condescendingly. When he saw Shening, his eyes widened. It's you. A look of panic flashed across his face. Then, as if remembering something, he calmed down. The array has been activated. There's nothing you can do, no matter how strong you are. Little Biao, stand guard here. I'm going to save them. I Ching did not want to listen to his nonsense. He summoned his immortal sword and charged forward. Lan Hua flew forward at the same time. He was just about to rush towards the people sitting cross-legged around the array. Suddenly, a golden light flashed within the array. Before the two of them could touch the array, they were thrown out by the light. I Ching was fine. He was only forced back a few steps. Lan Hua's sleeves suddenly burst into white flames. He hurriedly tore off half of his dermic robe to prevent the flames from burning him. But the demonic qi that he had just gathered was instantly dispersed. Lan Hua was shocked. This array could cleanse demonic qi. I didn't expect that the celestial emperors would work together with the demons one day. Xanhong glanced at Lan Hua and laughed coldly. His face was full of glee. It's a pity that the Emperor Ascension stage was set up by the divine race. A demon wants to shake the divine race's heavenly pillar? What a joke. If immortal qi was the nemesis of demonic qi, then divine power was a great poison to demons. This Emperor Ascension stage was set up by the divine race. Celestial Emperor Lan Hua, don't be rash, Chu Xian reminded him worriedly. Lan Hua's expression darkened. He had no choice but to retract the demonic qi around him. I'll do it. I Ching gestured for him to step back. He activated the immortal qi in his body. Sword qi exploded, forming a huge golden sword that slashed towards the light pillar. It's useless. Xanhan was not the least bit worried. You can't break through the Emperor Ascension stage. With a loud bang, the sword intent that I Ching had used all his strength to attack struck the red pillar of light heavily. The Emperor Ascension stage shook a little, but it did not seem to be damaged at all. There was really no way to break into it. The entire Emperor Ascension stage seemed to be encircled by a red barrier. There was no way to break through it. Since you want to bring more people to die, I'll grant your wish. Xanhan's eyes hardened. He conjured a seal with both hands. Spirit manipulation art. Chen Gu exclaimed as he recognized the technique in his hand. The expressions of the other radishes instantly darkened, and they couldn't help but curse. Despicable. He actually wanted to control their bodies to attack them. The moment Xanhan cast his spell, everyone in the array suddenly stood up. As if they had received some sort of command, they charged towards I Ching in midair. Young lordie, be careful, Biaoting shouted. I Ching had no choice but to give up on attacking the light pillar. He turned to defend himself and fought with 4 or 5 figures. Although Xanhan was only controlling their bodies, they were all celestial emperors, except Lone Moon and Sun Shu. What's more, their primordial spirits were not in their bodies. All they knew was to attack. Biaoting's situation was even worse. On one hand, he had to protect the weak radishes. On the other hand, he had to fend off the crowd. He could not kill them, because their bodies belonged to him. Everyone could only defend themselves. If the array was not broken, they would not be able to return to their bodies. Xanhan laughed coldly. He looked at the few of them, who were trying their best to defend themselves. His eyes were cold. You're like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. I told you, no one can break through this array. Well, before he could finish speaking, he felt someone tap his shoulder. A familiar voice rang in his ear. You seem to have forgotten about me. Xanhan jumped and spun around, as if he had seen a ghost. You. Why are you here? Impossible. This was a divine array. How could she enter after activating it? How did you get in? I jumped in. Shening pointed at the Dharma artifact that the radishes were standing on. There was no path in between them. She could only jump. No. Impossible. Who are you? Xanhan's eyes bulged in disbelief. Enough, enough, enough. I haven't had dinner yet. Shening reached out to grab him. Xanhan seemed to recall something. His face drained of all color. He wondered if extreme fear could really stimulate one's potential. No. He yelled and used all the immortal qi in his body to retreat. In an instant he used a few spells. Icicles, fire dragons, wind blades and lightning bolts flew towards Shening from the Emperor Ascension stage. Although this spell did not affect her at all, Shening was still dazzled by the sudden appearance of this colorful spell. Her outstretched hand naturally slowed down. Her hand, which was originally going to grab onto his shoulder, sank down, as if it had caught onto something. She reached out to grab it, only to hear a swishing sound. Looking down, she saw that there was a strip of cloth in her hand. It was as wide as a palm, and embroidered with auspicious clouds. Her mind buzzed. Could this be a belt? She turned to look. Indeed, 3 steps away, a pair of white pants lay on the ground. Xanhan was bare-legged, standing about 10 feet away, still in a state of shock. Shening. Zichen. Hui Ling. Shening pursed her lips. If she said she didn't do it on purpose, would anyone believe her? That. She was just about to return the belt when Father Neo's exasperated voice came from the air. Shenning, what the hell are you doing? Hurry, we can't hold on any longer. On the Dharma artifact outside, the radishes were already surrounded by the bodies controlled by Exa and Han. Biaoting and Lan Hua could not handle them at all. All they could do was shout for help. Shenning paused. She was just about to hand the belt over to the radishes when she turned around and threw it in their direction. The belt was a Dharma rope after all. In an instant it became longer. Like a rope, it wrapped around Father Neo and the others. She took advantage of the situation and pulled them back into the array. Then, she threw the belt in I Ching's direction. For a moment, everyone's bodies that were controlled by the spirit manipulation spell fell to the ground like dumplings. Shenning then threw away the belt in her hand. It's your turn. Exa and Han subconsciously took a step back. Seeing that Shenning was walking towards him, he moved his hand and conjured a seal. Suddenly, a red light flashed under Shenying's feet. An array pattern formed beneath her feet. It was the same array pattern that had trapped everyone on the Emperor Ascension stage. The originally circular formation began to change. The red light once again spread to everyone's feet, including Zichen and Huiling. Han, what are you doing? Zichen realized that something was wrong. But it was too late. He could not move his body. His cultivation level was being sucked into the array. He could only look at the person opposite him in shock. Shenning was stunned. Was this internal strife? Chapter 213. Master, I just finished what you wanted me to do later. Exa and Han's expression was cold. He looked at Zichen, as if he was looking at a dead man. What do you mean? Zichen paled. He snorted, his eyes filled with murderous intent. Don't think I don't know. This array concentrates everyone's cultivation in one place. In other words, even if the gates to the divine realm are opened, only one person can become a god. Isn't Master planning to kill me after everything is done and become a god by himself? You. Zichen was shocked. Guilt flashed across his eyes. Exa and Han. Huiling shouted anxiously. I don't know what he's planning. Why are you doing this to me? I trusted you so much. Little Xian. Exa and Han could not bear to see her like this. But he did not undo the array around her. I like you, but you're his daughter. Instead of hating me in the future, why don't? I'm not his daughter. Huiling panicked. She no longer looked as innocent as before. I've already reincarnated. What happened in my past life has nothing to do with me. That's not important. Don't worry. Once I become a god, I'll find a way to bring you back to life. No. Exa and Han ignored her. He looked at the people who had been pulled back and Shenning, who was standing in the array. His earlier panic disappeared, and he said excitedly, It's been hard on you to send these array cores back, so that I can set up a new array. Then you and these people will open the gates to the divine realm together. You'll use up all your cultivation and die. He conjured a seal with both hands and reactivated the array. His smile widened, as if victory was already in his grasp. If only, not for the fact that he was barefooted. Straight face, how does this ancient divine array feel? He looked elated. No matter how high your cultivation is, you won't be able to get out. Before he could finish his sentence, Shenning, who had not felt anything at all, looked down at her feet and took a step forward. Exa and Han, the father and daughter. Everyone. How? How can this be? Exa and Han looked as if he was hallucinating. This is the divine race's array. How could this be impossible? Is it very powerful? Shenning tilted her head, a look of confusion flashing across her face. Let me try. As she spoke, she suddenly squatted down, clenched her fist, and punched the ground playfully. There was a cracking sound, and a crack the width of a finger appeared. In the next moment, the entire Emperor Ascension stage started to fall like dominoes. The sound of cracking could be heard. With Shenning as the center, cracks started to appear one after another. They spread out in all directions and covered the entire Emperor Ascension stage in no time. The red formation above them collapsed immediately, and the red light was extinguished. Everyone who had lost control of their bodies fell to the ground one after another. Even the pillar of light that had shot straight into the sky transformed into countless specks of red light, before disappearing into thin air. The quality isn't that great either. Shenning shook her head. Everyone. No. Exa and Han looked at the spot where the light pillar had disappeared, his face crumbling. Heavenly pillar, realm gate. Impossible. He was clearly just one step away from opening the door to the divine realm and becoming a god. Master, are you all right? The array disappeared. I Ching was the first to fly down from the sky. Just as he was about to land, he saw the cracks on the ground and immediately pulled Shenning onto his sword. Shenning brushed the dust off her hands. Biaoting also flew down with the radishes. Why did it take so long this time? Lone Moon jumped onto their swords and glared at Shenning. Didn't they usually settle it in 1 or 2 minutes? This time, it took 5 minutes. You dared to destroy the array for becoming a god. Exan Han's eyes were bloodshot. He looked as if he had lost his mind. He glared at Shenning. You deserve. Before he could finish his threat, he felt a sharp pain in his chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood. He looked down and saw a hand piercing through his chest. It was Zichen's hand. Hui Ling was also shocked by Zichen's sudden attack. She screamed, her face pale. But she did not go over to help Exa Han. You, good disciple, I forgot to tell you. The Emperor Ascension stage is indeed a heavenly pillar, but it cannot open the door to the divine realm. Seeing Exa Han's shocked expression, Zichen smiled even wider. Because there is no array on the Emperor Ascension stage, there is a seal. With that, he pulled out Exa Han's primordial spirit from his body. The thick immortal chi surrounding Zichen disappeared in an instant. A black aura surged. You are. Exa Han said the last 2 words, and then stopped. His face was still full of shock. This is demonic chi, Biaoting exclaimed. He looked at the person who had suddenly transformed. Zichen was a demon. How could this be? He's a sky fiend. Lan Hua's eyes widened. Only a sky fiend could disguise his demonic chi as immortal chi. Zichen's demonic chi surged. He turned to face the crowd and said, I have to thank all of you for helping me destroy the Emperor Ascension stage. That's how I broke the seal. With that, he struck the Emperor Ascension stage beneath his feet and extinguished the last trace of red light. With a loud bang, the Emperor Ascension stage shattered into pieces. The next moment, huge amounts of demonic chi rose into the sky, gushing out endlessly. In an instant, the entire heavens beyond heaven was filled with demonic chi. The sky darkened. Get out of here! Lan Hua shouted. He led the people who had found their bodies and rushed out of the Emperor Ascension stage. But the demonic chi spread even faster. The radishes stared in shock at the demonic chi in front of them. There was too much. They had never seen so much demonic chi before. It was as if they were in the demonic realm. Everything was dark. They heard Zichen's maniacal laughter. Ha 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 ha. It's been hundreds of thousands of years. I've finally broken the seal. His voice was getting more and more maniacal. What's that? Someone exclaimed. They turned around and saw a huge amount of demonic chi gathering at the spot where the Emperor Ascension stage used to be. The demonic chi shot up into the sky and seemed to solidify into something. A moment later, a huge object appeared in front of them. It looked familiar. Lone Moon's nervous heart dropped back into his stomach. The corner of his mouth twitched as he nudged the person next to him. I Ching, am I seeing things? That's right. I suddenly want to go home for dinner. The demonic chi in front of them finally took shape. Everyone finally recognized what it was. Why is it a door? The door to the demonic realm. That's the door to the demonic realm. So this is what he said was sealed in the Emperor Ascension stage. He didn't capture us to become gods. He captured us to break the seal on the demonic realm. The radishes who did not know the truth turned pale. Ha 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 ha. Zichen's laughter became even more maniacal. The seal has been broken. It's time for the demonic realm to unify the 3 realms. As soon as he finished speaking, they heard a creak. The huge black door slowly opened. More and more demonic chi surged out of the door. A voice that seemed to come from hell swept across the entire sky beyond heavens with a chilling intent. Who has summoned me? Zichen became even more excited. He directly knelt down in front of the half-open door. Greetings, my king. Could it be that the person behind the door is? Everyone's faces turned even paler. It was as if they did not dare to voice their guess. The door opened wider and wider. Finally, it was wide enough for two people to fit inside. A tall, pitch-black figure appeared behind the door. No one could see his face clearly. However, following his line of sight, a bone-chilling aura pressed down on everyone's primordial spirit. They could not resist at all. If not for the fact that everyone's cultivation level was high, they would have been severely injured. Until that gaze landed on Shining. Hey, little black. She raised her hand in greeting. The person behind the door seemed to freeze. Even the demonic chi around them stopped. Everyone was silent for 2 seconds. The next moment, there was a loud bang. The demonic door that was just wide enough for two people to fit inside was slammed shut by the person behind the door. Shining. Zichen. The radishes who did not know the truth. What was going on? The invincible sect trio and Chungu. Sai, we really should go back for dinner. Chapter 214. Zichen had planned for hundreds of thousands of years, and finally managed to come up with a big move. His companions in the celestial world were all stunned. For a time, the surroundings were abnormally quiet. Even the demonic aura that was still spreading seemed to have frozen, no longer spreading. No one could react to what had happened. 5 minutes later, Shining glanced at the tightly shut gates of the demonic realm in front of her, raised her hand and knocked on the door. Little Black, open the door. I don't want to. A frightened voice came from behind the door. Come out first, I have something to ask you. No, I don't want to go out anymore. Sob, 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 so scary. Why are you crying? I won't hit you. Really? It's true. Really? Really? It's true. Really, really, really. If you talk anymore, I'll slap you right now. As soon as he finished speaking, the door creaked open. It was still that black-robed demon king with a pair of blood-red eyes. The surrounding demon chi was even more shocking. However, compared to the domineering aura he had a moment ago, the current him seemed exceptionally well-behaved. His eyes were slightly misty, and his hands were neatly placed on his knees. Even his shameful figure was shorter than before. Why are you kneeling on the ground? Shining glanced at the person on the ground. The demon king shuddered before replying seriously. Exalted goddess, I feel that kneeling on the ground and looking at you is especially impressive. Shining. Everyone. Why did she suddenly have the urge to light a candle for Zichen? The corner of Shen Ying's mouth twitched. She threw Zichen, whom she had just killed, over to him. Tell me what's going on. The demon king immediately distanced himself from her, and took 2 steps to the side. Exalted goddess, I'm really innocent. I don't know anything. I just sensed that someone was summoning me, so I came over to take a look. I didn't know that the immortal world was behind this door. If he had known, he wouldn't have opened it even if he was beaten to death. You mean? Shen Ying's voice deepened. There are many more doors like this? The demon king's face paled, and cold sweat immediately poured out. But, maybe. Yes. Oh no, he had let it slip. I Ching, who was at the side, immediately reacted, and his heart sank. Indeed, although this door looked exactly the same as the one in Invincible Sect, this was the Emperor Ascension stage. It was obvious that it was not the same door. In other words, there was more than one gate leading from the immortal realm to the demon realm. How many more of these doors are there? I Ching asked. This. The demon king gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to reply, Zichen, who was lying on the ground, finally reacted. He had a look of disbelief as he said, My king, what are you doing? As long as you give the order, the demon world's army will unify the 3 realms, just around the corner. So why? Shut up. The demon king sent a wave of suppressive might sweeping over, directly pressing him back to the ground. You little b****, you still want to trick me? How could he still have a demon realm army? The 10 sky fiends had long been wiped out. and they were still lying in the demon palace groaning and recuperating from their injuries. Exalted goddess, listen to my explanation. The demon king was on the verge of tears. He looked at Shunning weakly and said, "These were all done by the previous demon king. It was he who wanted to unify the three realms. So he sent some of his clansmen to hide in the three realms. Not just in the celestial realm, but in the lower realms as well. All of them were tamed demons, and once the realm gate opened, they could directly summon the demon king. But I really don't know exactly how many there are." He quickly confessed everything in one breath. "You mean there are other demons in the immortal realm?" Lone Moon was shocked. "There should be, right?" He nodded, then continued. "The lower realm is not a good place, so the previous demon king always wanted to conquer the immortal realm. It's just that 1,000,000 years ago, the immortal realm and the divine realm were connected. That's why I haven't found a chance to act." Lone Moon thought about it carefully and understood the whole story. In the past, the devil race did not dare to attack the immortal world because of the god race. After that, the god world and the immortal world fell out. But in the end, they left behind the Emperor Ascension stage and sealed the door to the demon world. The demon king was not satisfied, so he sent some people to secretly cause destruction, wanting to open the realm gate. Zichen was one of them. It was just that he had prepared for so many years, and the demon race had already changed. At the last critical moment, he met Shining the cheat. For a moment, he did not know whether he should be happy for the immortal realm or mourn for Zichen. "Can you find these people?" Shining asked. Yes. The demon king immediately nodded his head like a little chick. The exalted goddess's orders. He definitely could. All right then, within 3 days. Think of a way to call all your people back. Shining waved her hand and said, "In the future, manage your territory well. Don't come out and wander around if you have nothing to do." "Yes, exalted goddess, no problem, exalted goddess." "All right, you can go." "Yes, exalted goddess." Only then did the demon king heave a sigh of relief. He immediately got up, picked up the fainted Zichen, and with a whoosh, disappeared through the door. 3 days later, the demon king was quite efficient in his work. He took out a heavenly devil order, which was an artifact used to summon demons. In less than a day after he took it out, people began to gather at the gate of the demon realm to report. Among these people, some looked like insignificant little immortals. Some were famous immortals in the immortal realm, and one of them was even a country emperor. Although they were not sky fiends, they all had their own ways to hide their identities. The more the celestial emperors saw, the more frightened they became. If not for Shining, perhaps it would not be long before the immortal realm really fell into the hands of the demon world. All of these people were brought back to the demon world by Little Black. The crisis was considered resolved. Zichen was also brought back to the demon world. Thinking about the demon king's expression, he probably did not end up well. The only one who had not been dealt with was Hui Ling. What she had done was not considered a big deal, but it was not a small matter either. It was not because of her, and she was more or less influenced by Xian Han. But it was an indisputable fact that she had betrayed her master and stolen the divine artifact. No one else could say anything. The one who was most qualified to deal with this, and also the one who suffered the most, was Chun Ge. So the celestial emperors directly handed her over to him. Remove her immortal bones, destroy her cultivation, and send her back to the lower realm. Chen Ji's expression did not change. Word by word, he stated Hui Ling's punishment, but his voice was cold. She came from the lower realm. Now, she has returned to where she belongs. As for what happens in the future, it depends on her fate. Chen Ji's punishment seemed to be extra lenient. But to Hui Ling, it was the most severe punishment. Who would want to reincarnate and become immortal again after becoming an immortal? What's more, people who had their immortal bones removed could not cultivate again. A mortal's lifespan was less than 100 years. To Hui Ling, who was once an immortal, this was worse than death. It seemed that her previous actions had completely chilled Chen Ji's heart. He no longer had the slightest bit of indulgence towards her. Young Emperor Lone Moon, what do you think of this? Chen Ge turned to look at Red Radish. What does it have to do with me? Lone Moon glared at him. The anger he had been suppressing for the past few days exploded out. Let's put this aside for now. Didn't you say that I can change back as soon as I find my body? Why am I still a radish? Air. The corner of Chenji's mouth twitched. He said in a low voice, Young Emperor, our bodies are badly injured. If we let our primordial spirits return to our bodies, our injuries will worsen. We have to think about this carefully. We can't rush it. All right. Even if we have to wait for our bodies to recover before we can go back, then. He took a deep breath and turned to stare at the radishes in the room. Why are you still here? The fight was over, shouldn't they go back? Why the hell were they still staying at Invincible Sect? Watering them didn't cost money. All the radishes froze. Father Neo, it's not good for them to go back just like that. Shenning interrupted. They were celestial emperors after all. Shut up. Lone Moon glared at her. If you hadn't beaten our bodies up so badly, do we need to be like radishes and play with them every day? Shenning paused. Weren't you the one who asked me to beat them up faster that day? I asked you to beat that bastard Xian Han. Who asked you to use your belt to whip us? Wasn't that to save you? You're the one who's weak, blame me. Save your ass. Is that considered saving? When they came back to check, they found out that 8 out of the 9 people had their meridians broken, and their immortal bones damaged, because she had used her belt to whip them. The only one who was not too bad was Xian Tong. But because she was a fox, Xian Han did not control her body to attack them. She only lost too much blood in the sacrificial array. So now she was back in her fox body, and the others were still radishes. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He could not suppress his anger. Also move that stupid pot away from my head. Don't pour it on me anymore. Are you King colorblind? I said I'm not a radish, I'm not. Shenning. I Ching. All the celestial emperors. Their primordial forms were damaged and they could not return to their bodies for the time being. What's more, 6 of the 8 radishes were celestial emperors. Those with lower cultivation levels might suffer if they tried to heal their bodies. The only one who could do it was Little Biao. But he did not know how long it would take to heal them one by one. Finally, he thought of a more efficient way. Since all the celestial emperors' primordial spirits are in the immortal herbs, the immortal herbs are wood elemental and have healing properties. Why don't we infuse our bodies with this aura? Biao said seriously. What's more, earth and wood are interdependent. We can use this method to heal them. There's living soil in the back mountain. Living soil is immortal soil. It can help. Speak human language. Shenning interrupted. Oh, I mean bury them with their bodies in the back mountain. Maybe they'll grow together with the radishes. All the radishes fell silent. But they had to try anything now. So they hugged their bodies and planted them in the back mountain. Perhaps they were traumatized by the Emperor Ascension stage. They planted themselves neatly in a circle, exactly the same as when they were first trapped. Little Biao's method was indeed useful. With the help of the immortal veins in the back mountain and the living soil, their bodies could slowly sense the movement of their meridians. Then they could guide them to heal themselves. In order to speed up their recovery, they dug out immortal veins one by one and planted them in their bodies. In an instant, the immortal chi in Invincible Sect exceeded that in the heavens beyond heaven. Under the nourishment of so many immortal veins, their bodies started to heal at a visible rate. What's more, the immortal herbs that only matured once in thousands and tens of thousands of years matured in less than 2 to 4 hours. The disciples' hands were sore from collecting so many vegetables. Seeing this, Lone Moon silently put away his small abacus that he had planned to calculate their accommodation fees. They were buried in the back mountain for half a month. Their bodies had mostly recovered. Just as they were about to fully recover, an unexpected piece of news came from the heavens beyond heaven. What? Hui Ling escaped. Lone Moon was shocked. Chen Ji's expression darkened. He was not in a good state to go back. That was why Hui Ling was escorted back by Biao Ting and locked in the immortal prison. Usually, he dealt with matters in Fengsong only through the communication talisman. He did not expect Hui Ling to escape from the immortal prison. Given her cultivation, She could not have broken through the immortal prison's array. Who helped her? It's. The voice in the communication talisman lowered and said hesitantly, Celestial Emperor, it's Lu Ming. What? Chen Ge was shocked. His face was full of disbelief. Half of the radish was red with anger. He knew that Lu Ming and Hui Ling were close, but he did not expect him to disobey his master's orders. This traitor. He had only taken in 2 disciples in his life. He did not expect one to be worse than the other. Even the other radishes in the pit looked at him sympathetically. Chen Ge took a deep breath to suppress his anger. In a low voice he said, Where did they escape to now? No, they did not escape. The voice in the communication talisman became even weaker. What do you mean? The voice in the talisman paused. After a while, it continued with some uncertainty. Lu Ming said that the Celestial Emperor was harmed by the traitors of Invincible Sect. It is unknown whether he is dead or alive. The person who ordered junior sister Hui Ling to be locked up is definitely not the Celestial Emperor himself. That is why he wants to contact all the country emperors to avenge the Celestial Emperor. Chen Ge, Lone Moon, all the radishes. They did not expect Hui Ling to have such a trick up her sleeve. Her intelligence was many times higher than before, when she was completely in love. She was the one who knew where Chen Ge was, and what had happened to him. Now she was using the excuse of avenging him as an excuse. It was obvious that she wanted to use this excuse to get rid of Chen Ge, while he was injured, and replace him. Was she going to take a gamble, because she knew that she could not escape punishment? Everyone's minds turned, and they understood immediately. They looked at Chen Ge with even more sympathy. They could not help but feel glad that they did not blindly take in disciples, because they had nothing better to do. But he wanted to attack Invincible Sect just because he had some country emperors on his side. Was there something wrong with his brain? Although Chen Ge was a radish now, Lan Hua, Biaoting and I Ching were not to be trifled with. What's more, there was Shining. All the radishes were just about to discuss the intelligence of Chen Ji's disciple, when Yu Hong rushed over. Panting, she said, Elder Lone Moon, many unfamiliar immortals suddenly appeared at the foot of the mountain. They are shouting that they want to avenge the Celestial Emperor. I know. They are the people of the various country emperors. Lone Moon nodded. Inform little Biao. No. Before he could finish, Yu Hong shook her head. They are from Fengtian. What? Blackbird almost jumped out of the pit he was in. Why would people from Fengtian come here? Very little Hong, are you sure? That's right. Yu Hong said confidently. They are all demon immortals. They say they are here to avenge you. I told them that you were fine, but they refused to listen. Blackbird looked confused. He was not even dead. What kind of vengeance was this? It's over, it's over. These people are dragging me down. Suddenly there was a loud bang. A transparent protective shield appeared in the sky above Invincible Sect, encircling the entire sect. This was the protective mountain array. Someone was attacking. Blackbird felt his anus tighten. Holy shit, those bastards really dared to come up. Before they could regain their senses, they saw a large number of immortals flying towards them. They were so dense that they occupied half the sky. Not only Fengtian in the east, but also Yunzhe in the west, Yunhai in the north, Changnua in the south, apart from Biaoting's Qingzhe continent. All the immortals from the other continents were here. What's more, they surrounded Invincible Sect in unison. The faces of the radishes, who were watching a good show just now, darkened in unison. They were going to die, they were going to die, they were going to die. Chapter 215. The sky above Invincible Sect was already filled with immortals, all of them brimming with immortal chi. Apart from Hui Ling and Lu Ming, the others were all famous immortals from various continents. The weakest of them was a Stygian immortal. The strange thing was that none of the country emperors of Fengsang had come. Behind them were a few immortals whom they had never seen before. Their cultivation levels were very low. The immortals came in a menacing manner. Without any explanation, they began to attack. All kinds of spells were cast, and the entire sky was filled with the light of different spells. But as soon as they were released, they were all blocked by the protective mountain array outside. Not a single person could rush in. After all, it was Lan Hua who had personally set up the protective mountain array. The country emperors of young emperors and immortal emperors would not be able to rush in quickly. All the disciples of Invincible Sect had already gathered at the square in front of the palace. Biao was alarmed as well. He looked at the densely packed immortals in the sky. What was going on? Were they collectively seeking death? Everyone Invincible Sect has wild ambitions. In order to unify the immortal world, they set up an array to plot against the emperors, causing them to fall. The immortals are usually protected by the emperors. Now that they are in trouble, we must avenge them. A male voice suddenly rang out in the sky, spreading through the entire Invincible Sect. In an instant, the immortals in the sky became even more agitated. They all began to shout for revenge. Don't spout nonsense, Biao retorted angrily. His voice carried the immortal pressure of a celestial emperor, immediately suppressing the voices of the immortals. Who told you that the emperors have fallen? Perhaps they felt the immortal pressure of a celestial emperor. But the immortals who were attacking the protective mountain array stopped. Biao flew up and looked at the immortals in the sky through the array. He heaved a sigh of relief when he saw that there were no demon immortals from Qingzhe. He turned to look at the two people in the lead and frowned. It's you. Wasn't this the traitor under Chengge? Emperor Biao, you don't have to act. Lu Ming did not seem to be afraid of his identity at all. He snorted and said, Invincible Sect dared to do such a thing. Naturally they would find an ally. You are in cahoots with them. You're just a minor gold immortal. Don't spout nonsense. Biao expression darkened and his immortal aura pressed down on Shining. Everyone in the Invincible Sect, especially Sect Master Shen, is a benevolent and righteous immortal. The things you said were clearly done by the woman beside you. Now that the matter had been exposed, were they going to push the blame onto the exalted goddess? I'm indeed on good terms with Invincible Sect, but that's out of my own will. I'm relying on my own abilities to cozy up to Invincible Sect. It's none of your business. Lu Ming was forced to take a step back by his immortal pressure. He panicked and hurriedly turned to look behind him. Emperor Bai, you've seen it for yourself. Invincible Sect is indeed colluding with Qingzhe. The immortals made way for him, and one of them flew forward. Bai, Biao was shocked as well. Why was he here? Emperor Biao. Bai frowned and looked at him hesitantly. Were you really behind the deaths of the rulers? Who said the rulers were dead? Biao looked at him, as if he was an idiot. Bai, you don't really believe what they're saying, do you? Don't tell me you don't know what kind of person Exalted Goddess Shun of the Invincible Sect is? If the Exalted Goddess wanted to unify the immortal world, why would she need to scheme? With one word, they would all have to kneel down, alright? Bai really did not know. He only looked down warily at Yi Qing, who seemed to be counting the number of people. Are you saying that the rulers are fine? Bai was even more hesitant. Actually, when Lu Ming said that the Invincible Sect had schemed against the rulers, Bai was also suspicious. But when he looked around, he found that the other rulers were indeed not in their respective palaces. He already owed the Invincible Sect a favor. Seeing that the immortals from all the continents had all come here, he was afraid that something irreparable would happen. That was why he followed them. Of course they're fine. Biao shook his head and pointed to Hui Ling, who was standing beside Lu Ming. It was this woman who deceived her master and trapped everyone. It was the Invincible Sect who saved the rulers. They're just recuperating here. They'll be able to go back in a few days. Nonsense. My junior sister did not do such a thing. Lu Ming retorted loudly. He laughed coldly and said, If it's really as you say, then why don't we invite the rulers to come out and confront them face to face? Biao was speechless. If those radishes could come out, he wouldn't have the chance to persuade this bunch of brainless immortals. Not to mention how embarrassing their image was now. Just based on the fact that they had no combat power at all, they could not guarantee that they would be schemed against by immortals with evil intentions and really die. That was also why they would rather stay in the Invincible Sect than return to the heavenly palaces. At least they would not have to worry about their safety if they stayed here. Everyone. Lu Ming continued to incite the immortals behind him. My junior sister saw the invincible sect colluding with Celestial Emperor Qing Zhe to scheme against the rulers. It wasn't easy for her to escape and report to us. Now that Biaoting is here, it's the best proof. What's more, their evil deeds are not just that. With that said, he turned to Hui Ling beside him and said softly, "Junior sister, don't be afraid. Tell everyone what they did." Hui Ling glanced at Biaoting, a hint of panic flashing across her eyes. She immediately retracted her gaze, pretending to be frightened. However, her voice could still be heard clearly. "I saw Invincible Sect Master Shun in colluding with the demons to set up an array on the Emperor Ascension stage, trapping all the celestial emperors. She even wanted to open the gates to the demonic world." As soon as she finished speaking, there was an uproar. The demons were actually involved. No wonder the rulers fell to their evil schemes. Recently, there's suddenly a lot of demonic qi in the heavens beyond heaven. Could it be that the gates to the demonic world have already been opened? As immortal cultivators, they colluded with the demons. We have to get rid of these scum. That's right, we have to avenge the celestial emperors. In an instant, the immortals who had just quietened down became excited again. King retards. Biaoting was so angry that his liver hurt. Suddenly, he did not want to care about these people who were courting death. They could do whatever they wanted. After all, the ones lying on the ground were not Qing Zhe's immortals. I advise you to quickly surrender. Lu Ming's expression darkened. He looked at the angry crowd and said, "Otherwise, the immortals will have to fight." Everyone. Hui Ling also stepped forward. Something flashed across her eyes. With a kind and worried expression, she said, "This could be the idea of Sect Master Shun and the others. I think most of the disciples of Invincible Sect are innocent. The important thing is to hand over Sect Master Shining and the 10 Directions divine weapon that they took away. We will not make things difficult for the others." She deliberately mentioned the 10 Directions divine weapon. Indeed, when the crowd heard that, their eyes lit up and they all began to shout, "That's right. Hand over that bastard Shun and the divine weapon. The divine weapon must not fall into the hands of the demons. Yes, hand over that Shun." Before the crowd could finish shouting, thousands of beams of white light suddenly lit up from the ground below Invincible Sect. They covered the sky and the earth and pounced towards the crowd, carrying with them an oppressive aura. Many people were unable to dodge in time and fell from the sky on the spot. Even Biaoting was almost hit. When he looked closely, he realized that it was a sky full of sword rain. Everyone fell silent. Young Emperor I Ching. Biaoting was stunned. He looked at I Ching, who suddenly flew up, the sword in his hand still emitting sword qi. Behind him were more than 10 disciples, all of them golden immortal to mystic immortal cultivation. The highest was only a Stygian immortal. He looked straight at the immortals outside the array, his expression a little excited. "Cut the crap." I Ching pointed his sword in the direction of Hui Ling and Lu Ming. "If you can fight, don't talk nonsense." Biaoting. He always thought that only exalted goddess Shun was violent. So everyone in Invincible Sect was like this? Sword qi exploded from I Ching's body. 6 immortal swords condensed behind him, each with a threatening sword qi. Even through the array, the immortals could feel the aura that seemed to penetrate their hearts. In the next moment, the 6 immortal swords once again turned into sword rain. Thousands of immortal swords lined up in a row, their tips pointed at the immortals. Where's exalted goddess Shen? Biaoting looked around and realized that Shining was not around. His expression changed. Was it really okay not to ask exalted goddess to come along? Master has important matters to attend to. It's not convenient for her to come, I Ching said in a low voice. We are enough. Then wait for I Ching. Don't rush. Before he could finish, I Ching waved his hand. Do it. Yes. All the disciples replied in unison. Wait, there are thousands of immortals here. Thousands of swords shot out at once. They were about to rush out of the array. Suddenly, a familiar and loud voice came from the back of the hall. Chef. Just as he was about to rush out of the formation, he stopped in midair with a click. Even the rain of swords in the air froze. Master? Biao heaved a sigh of relief. Thank goodness, someone was here. However, the voice just now rang out loudly again. Where did you put the vinegar? I can't find it. Biao. Bai Ti. Lu Ming. Everyone. What the hell was vinegar? Wait, why was the exalted goddess sitting in front of the table in the back hall? What was that pile of white stuff in front of her? Dumplings? Didn't she say she had important matters to attend to? Was her important matter to eat dumplings? And the kind where she couldn't find vinegar? Degree. Flip's table. This was a sect battle after all. Why did he feel like he was the only outsider who was nervous? Master, please wait. I Ching did not hesitate at all. With a whoosh, he flew down from the sky and burrowed into the kitchen in the back hall. In less than 3 seconds, he came out with a few small plates and placed them in front of Shining. He said seriously, Master, this is vinegar, this is chili, and this is the side dish. Oh, I'm not used to eating dumplings without dipping sauce. Master, do you have any other instructions? No. Go and do what you need to do. Yes, Master. So he flew back into the crowd, still looking calm and collected. He held his weapon and looked at the immortals in the sky. Sword chi flowed in all directions. It was as if the person who ran back to the kitchen to prepare the dipping sauce was not him. Wait a minute. What was he holding in his hand? That was a spatula, right? W. Attack. Yes, the disciples replied. Without any hesitation, the 10,000 swords shot out in unison towards the crowd of stunned immortals. Biao. Wait a minute. Why did they start fighting just like that? Why didn't the disciples have any doubts? It was as if it was normal for him to return to the kitchen midway. Why did the immortals cooperate and wait for him to prepare the dipping sauce before attacking? More importantly, why was it that I Ching was holding a spatula in his hand, but the immortals were still beaten down like dumplings? Did no one think that there was anything wrong with him waving the spatula around? Why? Is identical to. Chapter 216. Invincible sect and the immortals had already started fighting, but the more they fought, the more shocked the immortals became. Although there were many immortals, they did not seem to have the upper hand. Not only was I Ching's sword array too terrifying, he clearly had the cultivation level of a young emperor, but even a country monarch with the cultivation level of an immortal emperor would not be able to gain the upper hand against him. What's more, I Ching still had the time to take care of the other disciples behind him. Although the other disciples of Invincible Sect had lower cultivation levels, but they were all body cultivators. Body cultivators were so rare that these immortals, who had lived for thousands of years, probably had not seen more than 5. Moreover, they had only seen them in the lower realm, not to mention successfully becoming immortals. But here they were everywhere, women alive, the kind that could send 4 or 5 people flying with a single punch. Invincible Sect was full of body cultivators. What kind of weird immortal sect was this? The immortals wondered if their eyes were playing tricks on them. But the punches that landed on them were unbelievably real. There were clearly only 10 or so people on the other side. But the strange thing was that they were evenly matched. Moreover, the protective mountain array behind them was very difficult to deal with. When they were tired, they could retreat to rest and continue fighting. The only one who could break the array by T stood in the air and did not make a move. He looked hesitant. Celestial Emperor Bai Ti, why aren't you making a move? Lu Ming turned and urged. His expression darkened as he added, Are you going to watch as the 10 Directions divine weapon falls into the hands of the demons? Bai Ti frowned. He looked at I Ching, who was surrounded by more than 10 country emperors, and felt a little tempted. But the next moment, Biao Ting flew up and stood in front of him. Bai Ti, if you really want to make a move, you'll have to get past me first. Celestial Emperor Biao Ting. He stopped in his tracks. He did not know who to listen to, and he became even more hesitant. The situation became even more chaotic. Gui Ling, who had been hiding behind the immortals, had a glint in her eyes. She had somehow avoided the people who were fighting, and had circled to the back. Her eyes shone brightly as she looked at a certain spot in the array. Something flashed across her face. While the immortals were fighting, she suddenly took out an item. A white light flashed in her hand, and she attacked the array. Her cultivation level was the lowest. Not to mention the immortals. Even I Ching did not notice her. There was a loud crash, and the protective mountain array surrounding the invincible sect exploded like a broken mirror. Everyone was shocked, and then ecstatic. The mountain guarding Grand Array is broken. It was unknown who shouted, but the immortals reacted and rushed back into the sect. I Ching's heart tightened. He forced the country emperors away with his sword, and turned around to fly back. There were only low-level disciples in the sect, not to mention the group of fragile radishes in the back mountain. Yu Hong and the others who were fighting outside the array also reacted and retreated back to the front hall. However, they were still too few in number. Previously, with the array formation, they had no worries, which was why they were able to force them back temporarily. Now that the array formation was broken, the immortals swarmed forward, and they lost their advantage for a moment. Just as the sky full of immortals was about to charge down, a large amount of dense demonic energy suddenly appeared, sweeping towards the immortals like a gale. Those who couldn't dodge in time were directly corroded by the demonic energy, and their bodies were immediately corroded to the bone. Demon race! There really is a demon here. The invincible sect is indeed in cahoots with the demon race. Lu Ming was right. The celestial emperor must have been harmed by them. The immortals cried out, looking at the people of the invincible sect even more angrily. However, they were afraid of the sudden increase in demonic energy, and did not dare to take another step forward. Why did you come out? I Ching frowned, and looked at Lan Hua beside him. Wasn't this causing trouble? You only said that there was an array formation, and I didn't need to come out. Isn't the array formation gone now? Lan Hua glared coldly at the immortals in the sky. What's more, I was the one who set up the protective mountain array. How could I not know that it was broken? Where's Goodheart? Is she all right? He scanned the crowd, looking for Shunning out of habit, but did not find her. Where is she? It's noon now. Huh. What did she mean? Master is having lunch. Lan Hua's mouth twitched. How could she be a sect master? Forget it. It's good that she's not here. What if something happens? He glanced at the shocked immortals in front of him. Who exactly broke the array formation? It's... I Ching subconsciously looked in the direction where Hui Ling had been just now, but found that she was no longer there. Huh. His heart sank. He scanned with his divine perception, but found that Hui Ling had gone to the back hall. Master. I Ching was shocked. He turned and rushed to the back hall. At the same time in the back hall, Shunning, who was eating dumplings, looked blankly at the green tea that suddenly appeared in front of her. What's the matter? Shunning. Hui Ling suddenly gave her a strange smile. She said confidently, You can't escape. Today, I'm going to get rid of you on behalf of the immortal realm. As soon as she finished speaking, Hui Ling suddenly conjured a seal with both hands. Her entire body emitted a blinding white light that swept across the surroundings. Her speed was extremely fast, and it looked like she was about to engulf Shunning. At that critical moment, she suddenly reached out with her empty left hand. With lightning speed, she picked up the half-eaten dumplings on the table. The next moment, the two of them and the plate of dumplings disappeared on the spot. All that was left was a table with 3 empty plates. Master. I Ching rushed in, but he was still one step too late. The back hall was already empty. Where did Sect Master go? Yu Hong, who had followed him in, was also confused. What sorcery did that female immortal use just now? I've never seen it before either. Lan Hua frowned, his expression serious. Is she all right? I don't think so. With Goodheart's ability. No. I'm talking about that female immortal just now. Is she all right in the head? She actually dared to challenge their sect master. How brave she was. For all. I really want to watch. Lan Hua. I Ching. In the blink of an eye, Shunning felt that the scene in front of her had changed. Beneath her feet was a field of grass. There was nothing around her except for more grass. She could not see the end of it. Green Tea, who had been standing in front of her, had also disappeared. The scenery was a little monotonous. Shenning looked around calmly, then ate the dumpling that was still on her chopsticks. It was filled with chives and meat. Shenning, you caused me to end up like this. Today is the day you pay for it. Suddenly, Hui Ling's voice sounded. Shenning could not tell where it came from. She could not see Hui Ling, but her voice reached Shen Ying's ears. It was as if Hui Ling did not exist in this world, yet she was everywhere. Shenning did not answer. She ate another dumpling. Do you know what this place is? This is the side realm, the gap between the three realms. It does not belong to any realm. It is not even governed by the heavenly Tao. I know you are very powerful. Even the Demon King is no match for you. But this place is endless. Even if you are very powerful, you will not be able to escape. She ate another dumpling. I did not want this to happen either. But you brought this upon yourself. If not for you, I would not have lost my master, my father, and even Xian Han. You owe me this. She ate another dumpling. Your invincible sect colluded with the demons. None of you are good people. Especially that slut called Xian Tong. She seduced my master. Otherwise my master would not have been deceived by you and treated me like that. But it doesn't matter now. The immortals will uphold justice for me. They will get rid of you scourges in the immortal realm. She ate another dumpling. You are about to die. And you still have the mood to eat dumplings. Then repent in this side realm forever. I will let you. Stop eating. Shen, are you listening to me or not? Shenning paused and ate the last dumpling. She kept her chopsticks and plate and replied, Oh, do you think the side realm is just like this? She seemed to be very angry and snorted. The next moment, the scene in front of her changed. The grass disappeared, and a large patch of lava appeared under Shen Ying's feet. Deviant flames appeared everywhere and rushed towards her. But they could not burn her at all. In a short while, the deviant flames disappeared, and a thick layer of ice appeared on the ground. It was as if even the air was about to freeze. Countless icicles appeared and stabbed towards her like thorns. But the moment they touched her body, they shattered. After the ice disappeared, wind came, and then thunder. Every element came again. Shenning cooperated and stood where she was. She did not move at all until the surroundings changed back to the grass. Let's see how long you can last. Hui Ling's voice became even colder. I have already refined this place. In this side realm, I am the master. That's it. Shenning tilted her head and narrowed her eyes. Then it's my turn. What? Hui Ling was stunned. Before she could react, Shenning, who had been standing where she was, disappeared in a flash. In the next moment, she appeared somewhere in the sky. She suddenly reached out and grabbed at the void, throwing something down. There was a whooshing sound. Suddenly, another figure appeared in midair and fell straight down from the sky. With a loud bang, she hit the ground and sank 3 inches into the ground. Hui Ling felt a huge amount of blood rush up her chest. She opened her mouth and spat out blood. Her whole body was in so much pain that she could not move. She did not even dare to think about her injuries. She did not have time to react. Her eyes widened as she looked at Shenning. No. Impossible. How could you have discovered me? Shen Ying's mouth twitched. Please. You told her from the start that there was a crack here. You stood next to the crack and said those harsh words for so long. It would be strange if she did not discover you, right? She was not blind. Who exactly are you? Hui Ling's eyes widened. She still could not believe it. The side realm has already been refined. How could you pull me in? Only I can control this place. Oh, is it because of the necklace on your chest? Shenning asked. The second one. Hui Ling's face paled. She subconsciously clutched her chest and moved backward. You. Impossible. How did you know? I don't like to bully girls. Shenning sighed. She did not answer. Instead, she raised her hand and slapped Hui Ling's beak. Who sent you to deal with me? Who is the person behind you? What did you say? Hui Ling was stunned. Panic finally appeared on her face. She struggled with all her might, but could not pull herself out of the ground. Instead, because she moved too hard, she kept spitting out blood. What do you mean? Let go of me. Stop pretending. Shenning frowned. She had always hated things that required her brain. In this world, my presence has been especially low. Everyone subconsciously ignores my existence. Only you do not. Moreover, from the first time we met, you have been strangely hostile towards me. Now you want to blame everything on me. These are not things that can be explained by a retard, right? Originally, the people who caught her at the Emperor Ascension stage were Lung and her father. The person who wanted to punish her was Salted Fish. What did it have to do with her? She had only met this green tea 3 times, right? But she went around in a big circle and focused all her hatred on her. This hatred was not only strange, it was also ridiculous. Even Heaven and Earth Great Shift would not dare to do this. Unless she was the target from the beginning. I don't know what you're talking about. Hui Ling still looked at her in fear. You won't look like me if you continue pretending. Shen Ying's expression darkened. Speaking of this, there is something wrong with my presence. Why is it that the moment I came to this world, only you are immune to it? Unless the person who pulled me into this world is the same person who ordered you to do this. Speak. Who is he? What did he do to me? What is his motive? What do you want? Hui Ling panicked even more. Looking at the person who suddenly came closer, she screamed in fear. Go away. Shenning pulled the necklace off Hui Ling's neck. Or should I ask who gave you this necklace? I don't know what you're talking about. I picked up the necklace. Give it back to me. Hui Ling's face turned pale. Suddenly, she pulled her hand out of the soil and tried to snatch the necklace back. That's mine. Shenning moved her hand away reflexively, but she still touched the red string that was dangling down. In the next moment, the necklace in her hand suddenly emitted a white glow. In an instant, it turned into spots of light and disappeared, leaving only a red string in her hand. My necklace. Hui Ling's eyes widened. Her expression became even more frenzied. No. What have you done? Before she could finish speaking, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her entire body started to emit a white light, just like the necklace earlier. Her entire body seemed to be broken into pieces. Her face was filled with extreme fear. She even started to beg for help from the person in front of her. No, I don't want to die from the backlash. Save me, save me, save. Before she could finish speaking, her entire body had disappeared. Even the scene in front of her began to distort. In less than a moment, it was as if a canvas had been removed. Everything disappeared. Shenning had already returned to the chair in the back hall of Invincible Sect. In front of her were a few empty plates. She lowered her head to look at her empty hand. After a moment she frowned. This was no longer interesting. Chapter 217. Master. I Ching was the first to notice Shen Ying's return. He wanted to come over, but was held back by more than 10 country emperors. Shen Ying had been gone for a long time. Invincible Sect's battle was getting more and more difficult. Although the disciples were not weak, the other side had too many people. Especially when the protective mountain array was broken, they had nowhere to retreat. If this went on for a long time, even immortals would get tired. Some of the disciples were even injured. Good heart. Lan Hua used demonic qi to protect a few low-level earth immortal disciples. He turned back and asked, Why are you only back now? What exactly happened? Hey, are you okay? Seeing that she did not respond, Lan Hua pushed her. Why are you in a daze? What's wrong? What's wrong? What else could it be? Lan Hua glared at her. Can't you see? Help me. If this went on, these people would really attack the radish field at the back of the mountain. Shenning looked up. The sky was full of immortals, flashes of spells and all kinds of weapons. She frowned. This was really a little annoying. For all. Hashtag, she answered in a low voice. Oh. Then she got up and picked up a sword that was stuck in the ground and pulled it out. Good heart, go to the back of the mountain and fend off. Lan Hua was about to say that she should go to the back of the mountain to guard. After all, Lone Moon and the others were there, and there was only one array. Before he finished speaking, he felt a weight on his shoulder. She pushed him away. Excuse me. Eh. He lost his balance and was pushed to the ground. What are you? He was about to lose his temper when he saw Shunning suddenly step forward. She turned the sword in her hand and swung it forward forcefully. It was a very ordinary swing of the sword, but in an instant, the sword transformed into a terrifying sword chi, as if it could split the heavens and split the earth. It swept towards the opposite side. There was a loud boom. A bottomless abyss appeared in the ground. The entire immortal realm seemed to have been split apart by a sword. The huge crack extended forward. The ground shook continuously. Even the sky was distorted, as if it would collapse at any moment. The immortals could not even maintain their flying swords. They fell to the ground. The whole place was silent. Therefore, everyone looked at the bottomless abyss at the foot of the invincible sect mountain in a daze, unable to react for a long time. What just happened? Sigma Q, P scram. A voice suddenly rang out. It wasn't loud, but it was especially obvious in the silence. The immortals felt a chill in their hearts. They couldn't help but shiver. All the meridians in their bodies felt like they were frozen. A sense of boundless fear instantly crept into everyone's heart. It was unknown who started it first, but they turned around and flew away on their swords. They did not even turn back to look at who the culprit was. In the next moment, it was as if a switch had been flipped on the immortals, who had fallen all over the ground. They all began to fly their swords, burrow into the ground and summon clouds. They scrambled and scrambled to be the first to leave the invincible sect. In less than a quarter of an hour, they had all left, leaving behind a ground full of dermic artifacts that had not been picked up in time. Thus, the Immortal Alliance's battle against the invincible sect came to an abrupt end just as they were about to win. Apart from the people of the invincible sect, no one knew what had happened. Even the immortals did not know why they had to escape. There was only one thought left in everyone's mind. If they didn't leave, they would die. A winky face, the 10 Directions continent returned to its previous peace. However, there was suddenly an additional crack on the ground that spanned across the entire immortal realm. It was less than 3 feet wide but bottomless. If they were lucky, they could occasionally see the images of the 3 realms through the crack. Half a month later, there's someone behind Hui Ling's back, and it could be the person who transmigrated us to this world. Lone Moon was shocked and stood up immediately. Yes. Shunning picked up the cup on the table and moved it to the side before nodding. You're saying that we were dragged here by someone, and not transmigrated here by accident? Lone Moon looked at her in disbelief. Yes. She continued to nod. Lone Moon glanced at the calm Shunning. When did you know about this? I knew from the beginning. She crunched on her fruit. From the beginning? Holy shit. Then why didn't you tell me? You didn't ask. You wouldn't tell me if I didn't ask? Where was the trust between father and daughter? I thought you knew. Which eye of yours saw that I knew? Who could guess such a thing so casually? Shunning tilted her head. Didn't you say about the plot? Ah. He was confused. What did she mean? What does this have to do with the plot? The book you're reading. Shunning continued to eat her fruit leisurely. Apart from the love scenes, although the process is completely different, aren't the people who appear and the final outcome similar? Lone Moon thought about it carefully. Indeed, all the characters in the plot that he remembered had appeared, be it the male and female leads, I Ching, and the gate to the demonic realm, had indeed appeared in the end. But, what has this got to do with me? I'm not a character in the plot. Precisely because you're not. What do you mean? They were not characters in the book in the first place. Sigh. Shunning sighed and put down the fruit that only had the core left. Father Neo, you keep saying that this book belongs to your niece. Then do you remember which publishing house this book was published by? Who is the author? How much is it priced? Who would pay attention to this when reading a book? He retorted out of habit. Alright, even if you didn't pay attention, what about the cover? You should have seen the cover of this book, right? What style is it? Can you tell me more about it? Of course I know this, it's... Lone Moon stopped mid-sentence. The clear image in his mind suddenly became blurry. He really couldn't remember what the cover looked like. You can't remember? Why is that? Because you haven't even read this book, Or this book wasn't your niece's in the first place. How is that possible? I clearly saw my niece holding it the entire summer vacation. Is that so? Shining continued. You dote on your niece a lot, don't you? Of course. Although he didn't know why she suddenly asked this, he still nodded habitually. I only have this niece. That's even stranger. Shining glanced at him. You're so rich and you dote on your niece. Yet you let her read a pirated book for the entire summer vacation. Pirated book? How can it be? Father Neo, she interrupted him, patted his shoulder and said, pornographic articles cannot be published legally. Get rid of pornography and illegal publications. You have to understand it. I already said it wasn't pornographic. Alright, it was a little pornographic. **O. So. Shining stood up and calmly exchanged the empty plate in front of her with the fruit in his hand. She continued. If you really saw such a book, the only possibility is that someone deliberately let you see it. Lone Moon frowned. You're saying that someone deliberately let me transmigrate into this book. You still think this is the world in the book? Lone Moon hesitated. Isn't it? Is it? Chapter 218. Isn't there a saying that a world exists in a flower? It was not strange for a book to have a world, was it? I don't know if a flower has a world, but it's alive. A book is just ink and fiber. Do you think these can give birth to life? She made so much sense that he was speechless. Even if there is a world in a book, it can only be a two-dimensional world. How can a three-dimensional person like you be pulled into it? Shining said as she nibbled on her fruit. Let's take a step back and say that this is really a world in a book. We are not erasers. Why should we change a plot that has already been printed? Lone Moon was stunned. His heart sank. You mean to say that someone in this world wrote this book, and then deliberately summoned us into this world? But the plot in the book is about what happened after I transmigrated. Then isn't this a prophecy book? Shining finished. Shit. There were indeed spells that could predict the future. But would there be such a thing as a pornographic novel? But thinking about it, the reason why they could change the plot so easily was because the future was uncertain. Who is that bastard? Did you get anything from Hui Ling? No. Shining shook her head. She told him about Green Tea's disappearance in detail. Lone Moon's frown deepened. A worry that he had never felt before came over him. This feeling of being controlled by someone else was terrible. The key was that he had no idea who the other party was. Hui Ling died just like that. Yes. Then do you think Hui Ling knew? Shining was silent for a moment. She shook her head. I don't think so. Green Tea did not look like she was lying. She really did not know what she was asking. She was just a pawn that was being used without knowing it. Then why did the person behind the scenes want us to transmigrate into this world? The more Lone Moon thought about it, the bigger the mystery became. And that book? What was his purpose in writing this book and telling me about it? Shining frowned. A moment later she said in a low voice, maybe to open that door? What door? The door to the demonic realm. Lone Moon's eyes widened in shock. He thought carefully about the plot in the book. The last battle was indeed at the gate of the demonic realm. But before the door was fully opened, it was sealed by I Ching. He had admired the I Ching in that plot from the very beginning. Of course, that was before he became a chef. After knowing the plot, she tried her best to stop him from dying for sealing the gate to the demonic realm. If the book was purposely misleading him, then this should be the result that the author wanted to see. You're saying that the person who caused us to transmigrate is very likely someone from the devil realm? Shining nodded. That's why he instructed Hui Ling to go to the fringe realm. As long as Shining was not around, no one would be able to stop the demon realm from invading the immortal realm. It was just that the other party might not have expected that Shining could not be trapped in the plane of existence. Lone Moon hurriedly stood up and turned to instruct Yu Hong. Yu Hong, go and look for Lan Hua. Ask him to set up an array and go to the Emperor Ascension stage. Shen Ing had given Little Black 3 days to bring away the demons hiding in the immortal world. Now that a month had passed, the gate should have disappeared. Let's see if the gate to the demonic realm. Before he could finish, the ground shook, and a loud rumbling sound came from far away. Large amounts of immortal chi surged forward, sweeping through the entire main hall. Loman's heart tightened. He had a bad feeling. He exchanged a look with Shening and hurried out of the main hall. The shaking did not stop. It was not just Invincible sect. Everywhere else was shaking. It was as if the entire world had come to life. The front of the main hall was filled with disciples. Master! Even I Ching, who was cooking, rushed out. He was still holding a spatula in his hand. He turned to look at Shening, then turned to look into the distance, frowning deeply. Did you sense anything? Lomun asked hurriedly. I Ching was most sensitive to auras. I Ching raised his spatula and pointed into the distance. The immortal chi is surging over here. It's like it's being chased away by something. I don't know what it is. Chased away. Something fell down, Shening suddenly said. What? Lomun was shocked. What th dash? Before he finished speaking, a black fog-like object suddenly appeared. It flew towards Shening at an extremely fast speed. Shan! Who's there? I Ching, who was standing beside Shening, swung his spatula at it. Ow! There was a scream. The whole black fog was slapped out and landed heavily on the stone floor in front of them. Holy shit! Chef, why did you hit me? This voice was Lomun was stunned. He looked at the person who was crawling up from the ground. You're Lan Hua. Of course. Of course it's me. Who else here has demonic chi? He got up angrily and conjured a seal. Instantly, the demonic chi on his body disappeared, and he returned to his human form. Why did you release demonic chi for no reason? Lomun rolled his eyes. Who could tell who you were with that black fog? You deserved to be beaten up. Who released it? I didn't want to either. It's because... Oh right. He seemed to have remembered something important. He turned to look at Shening and looked her up and down. Good heart, are you alright? Are you missing an arm or a leg? Tell me quickly. Shening. I Ching frowned and slapped his unruly hand away with his spatula. Master is fine. What do you mean by that? You're really fine? His face was full of doubt. He frowned. Then why did I suddenly become a sky fiend? Sky fiend? Everyone was shocked. You broke through in your cultivation. That's right. He nodded. Just now my cultivation suddenly increased, and I became a sky fiend. I thought something happened to Good Heart. That's why I came to take a look. Logically speaking, he could only become a sky fiend if he got rid of his last trace of Good Heart. But just now, he and Radish were filling the hole in the back mountain. Suddenly he rose up. Did anything happen to you just now? The bad feeling in Loman's heart was getting stronger and stronger. No. He shook his head. Suddenly, a lot of demonic chi appeared out of nowhere. I couldn't control it. Indeed, black chi slowly emerged from his body. It looked like he was going to turn into a black fog again. Demonic chi. Loman's eyes widened. His heart sank. He turned to look at Shening and said in a low voice, Lan Hua, set up an array to send us to the Emperor Ascension stage. Hurry. Ha! Lan Hua hesitated. He did not understand what Lomun meant, but he still activated his demonic chi to cut through the void. Perhaps because of his breakthrough in cultivation, he set up the array very quickly. In a short while a black crack appeared in front of them. Let's go. Lomun dove into it. The other three hurriedly followed. In an instant, the scene in front of them changed. They were in another world. The moment they stepped out of the crack, the four of them felt a familiar tremor. It was the same as what they felt in Invincible Sect. Only this time, it was much stronger. In the next moment, they were stunned by the scene in front of them. They saw that the sky, which was originally filled with immortal chi, was now so thin that they could barely see it. The void behind the Emperor Ascension stage had suddenly turned black. It was as if the entire sky had been split into two. Half of it was black, and the other half was pure white. Faintly, they could see that in the darkness, there were strange rocks and lava everywhere. It was filled with black fog. It looked familiar. Shen Ying's eyes narrowed. That was... Chapter 219. The Demon Realm. Lan Hua exclaimed, his face full of confusion. As a demon, he could naturally tell what was in front of him. Holy shit. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He wanted to curse out loud. The demon realm had actually appeared here. This was not just a gate to the demon realm. The entire demon realm had fallen down. It was directly connected to the immortal realm. The Emperor Ascension stage was originally at the edge of the heavens beyond heaven. Not far below it was the void. It was also the border of the immortal realm. Beyond that was the void. Now that the demon realm had appeared, it looked like it was directly connected to the immortal realm. No wonder there was such a huge commotion just now. The entire immortal realm shook for an hour without stopping. The immortal realm and demon realm were on the same level. Now that they were connected, it would be strange if there was no commotion. What's going on? I Ching frowned as he looked at the miraculous scene in front of him. Who would have the ability to pull the entire demon realm into the immortal realm? It looks like we can only ask the demon in question. Lone Moon's voice was cold. The four of them turned to stare at a certain figure on the Emperor Ascension stage. The Demon King's body trembled. He suppressed the urge to turn and run. He straightened his stiff body and knelt even more obediently. You did this. Lone Moon pointed at the demon realm that had suddenly appeared, and the gate to the demon realm that had split open behind him. I'm innocent, exalted goddess. The Demon King broke out in cold sweat. Tears were about to fall. I don't know what happened either. I've already listened to you and brought all the devils back. But suddenly this gate split open, and then, I'm here. He did not want to come to the ghost immortal realm. It was easy for him to be the Demon King. Who did he offend? Now that the demon realm and the immortal realm were in the same realm, there was not even a gate. Perhaps he would meet the exalted goddess as he walked. That was too scary. He felt that the entire demon realm was not good. You really didn't do it when the demon realm fell into the immortal realm? Lone Moon was suspicious. It really didn't. The Demon King shook his head furiously. He was no longer a demon with a goal. If I had that ability, I wouldn't have waited until now, right? Let's not talk about how much power was needed to connect the two worlds. Even if he could connect the two worlds, he would still choose the mortal world. Even if he was beaten to death, he would never choose the celestial world. Then who has the ability to do so? Shenning suddenly asked. The Demon King froze for a moment, a confused look on his face. I don't know either. Opening the gate to the demon world is already very difficult, let alone connecting the two worlds. I have never seen anyone with such an ability. Unless, his eyes suddenly lit up, as if he had thought of something. Someone from the God Realm. God Realm. Everyone was stunned. Yes. The Demon King immediately nodded and said excitedly. Back then, the Immortal Realm and God Realm were connected. It's just that they had a falling out after that. The celestial race broke the heavenly pillar and left behind a formation that separated the two worlds, forming a separate world. That's how they separated. The heavenly pillar. Lone Moon turned to look behind him. The dilapidated gate to the demon world stood in the middle of a pile of rubble. A thought flashed across his mind. Could it be that the demon world fell into the immortal realm because of the Emperor Ascension stage? He turned to look at the others. Indeed, they had thought of this as well. The fog that had been shrouding their hearts just now dissipated in an instant. Shenning said that the person behind the scenes who allowed them to transmigrate was to open the gate to the demon world. But this could have been done by anyone. Why would he cross worlds to find them? What's more, when they were at Invincible Sect, the gate to the demon world opened once. But nothing like this happened. What's more, after Shenning came out, the gate mysteriously disappeared. This time, although the gate to the demon world had been closed, it had been standing there all along. In other words, opening the gate was secondary. The most important thing was where to open it. Obviously, the Emperor Ascension stage was his ultimate goal. It was not just to open the gate. He wanted to use the isolation array on the heavenly pillar to pull the demon world over and merge it with the immortal realm. How do you know about the heavenly pillar? Lone Moon glanced at him. They had only found out about the Emperor Ascension stage and the heavenly pillar not long ago. As for the isolation array, they had never heard of it before. This is what the demonic book says. The demon king turned his hand and immediately retrieved a black talisman. He handed it over. This is a history book written by the previous demon kings of my race. Everyone in the demon world knows about it. History book. The demon race had such a hobby. Lone Moon took the talisman and subconsciously tried to activate it with his immortal chi. However, he found that he could not move it. The corner of his mouth twitched. He had no choice but to hand it over to Lan Hua. Lan Hua transferred a bit of demonic chi into the talisman. In the next moment, rows of black words appeared in front of him. The words demonic book were written on the first row. The smaller words below clearly stated, Year 43,671 of the demonic calendar. I became a demon king. Hee. I decided to kill those bastards who laughed at me. Year 109,135 of the demonic calendar. I killed the previous demon king. From today onwards, I am your new demon king. Year 244,000 of the demonic calendar. I got bored being a demon king. I heard that there was an immortal world outside. I decided to go out and have some fun. Year 204,001 of the demonic calendar. The previous demon king was played to death by the divine race. I am the new demon king. Year **** of the demonic calendar. I went to the immortal world today and met Cui Hua. She's so beautiful. Hee. I want to marry the queen. I don't know how many years it has been in the demonic calendar. I heard that the perverts of the divine race fell out with the immortals. The heavenly pillar was broken. They even set up an isolation array. Ha, they deserved it. I told you not to let me see Cui Hua. I don't know how many years it has been in the demonic calendar. The demon world is sealed. I can't get out. My Cui Hua. Sob. I can't be bothered to count the years. For Cui Hua, I must open the gates to the demonic world. Cui Hua, wait for me. Demonic calendar, Shining. Lone Moon. I Ching. Lan Hua. This is called a freaking history book. This is basically a diary written by the previous generations of demon kings. No, it's the New Year Crossing diary. And what the hell is with this casual tone? As demon kings, this is only the level of education they have. Don't they feel embarrassed to be spreading it around the entire demon race? Learn more about the 9 years of compulsory education. And what the hell is that Cui Hua who appeared so many times? Could it be that the person who recorded the diary is the former demon king of Little Black, who planted a lot of spies in the immortal world in order to open the gates to the demonic world? So the reason why the demonic world wanted to invade the immortal world was to make it easier for the former demon king to fall in love? Degree. What a scam. At that moment, everyone felt a sense of humiliation. Suddenly, they did not want to ask any questions about the mastermind at all. What was going on? This guy was definitely not the one who transmigrated them. He definitely wasn't. Otherwise, it would be too freaking embarrassing. Chapter 220. The demon realm suddenly merged with the immortal realm, causing panic in the entire immortal realm. The demons had always been the common enemy of the immortal realm. It could be said that the two realms were born to oppose each other. Once the commotion stopped that day, many immortals went to the Emperor Ascension stage to investigate. Perhaps because of Little Black's strict control, the demon realm was very quiet. No demons suddenly appeared, so there was no fighting yet. But this investigation scared the immortals out of their wits. This was not just opening a demonic gate. The entire demon race had moved next door to them. The demons had always been ferocious. There were 10 sky fiends in the demon realm. Sky fiends were equivalent to celestial emperors. Now that the immortal realm had lost 2 celestial emperors, the opponent had an even stronger demon king. If they really fought, the entire immortal realm would be wiped out. In an instant, all the immortals near the Emperor Ascension stage had moved away. Everyone was panicking. The immortal and demon war was about to break out. Only the celestial emperors in the heavens beyond heaven remained calm. What was the demon king? They had the exalted gods. 3. The moment the celestial emperors received the news, they all thought of Shining. Thus, the radishes that had finally returned to their bodies turned around and gathered at Invincible Sect. Seeing the row of radishes at the foot of the mountain, no, the Celestial Emperors, Loneman's face darkened. Damn it, this group of freeloaders, are they done yet? They had not even paid for their lodgings last time. Great, they even added by tea to their list. Thus, he silently added another sum to the Celestial Emperor's loan book. Shining did not want to care about these radishes. She casually called Little Black over. Let them discuss their own affairs among themselves. Anyway, no one brought food for her. Perhaps it was because of Lan Hua, the demon, or because the Demon King's obedient appearance on the Emperor Ascension stage left a deep impression on the Celestial Emperors. The friendly discussion between the two sides went surprisingly smoothly. The Celestial Emperors did not dislike the Demon King much less fight over a disagreement. Everyone knew that this was not the situation of the immortal and divine realms. At that time, with the support of the heavenly pillar, the two realms were only separated by an upper and lower bunk, so they could still be independent. The demon world and the immortal world had already merged into one. It was equivalent to expanding from a 1.5-meter bed to a 2-meter bed. If they were separated, the entire thing would collapse. It was already a fact that the immortal world had become the same world of immortals and demons. Since there was no way to separate them, then they could only get along. Although the two realms were fused, there was a ready-made boundary. As long as one didn't deliberately cause trouble, there wouldn't be any major problems. The conflict between immortals and demons could not be avoided, so there was a need to set rules. The Celestial Emperors and Demon Kings discussed for a few days, and finally settled on a treaty of peace and friendship between the immortal and demon realms. Basically, they would maintain the status quo before the fusion, where they would not invade or interfere with each other's internal affairs. In other words, they could do whatever they wanted in their own territory. Both sides had no objections to this. After discussing some details, the meeting was adjourned. The Demon King reported to Xin Ying, and then slipped away. The 8 Imperial Emperors, however, shamelessly stayed behind. What? Xin Ying paused. Bo Si River, what's that? Exalted Goddess. Chu Xian chuckled. He stepped forward and explained. Zichen is a demon and Exine Han has already perished. The Bo Si and Yi River are no longer protected by the Celestial Emperor. Naturally, someone has to take over. Then, with Exalted Goddess's cultivation level, you are naturally the best person to take charge of the two places. Moreover, the Bo Si and Yi River are connected, it's just right. Also connected to the demon realm? Shunning exposed him. Chu Xian. The Imperial Emperors. Did she have to be so incisive? How were they supposed to continue with their conversation? +_+, Sect Master Shen. In the end, it was Chun Ge who braced himself and said, We do have the idea of letting you deter the demons, but the Bo Si and Yishui cannot be without an emperor for a long time. Otherwise, there will be chaos after a long time. That place is close to the demon realm. It's hard to guarantee that the demon realm will not be involved. That's right, Exalted Goddess. Chu Xian nodded vigorously. Currently, there are no immortals in the immortal realm who have cultivated to the Celestial Emperor level. We really have no other choice. That's why we're here. I'm not going. Shenning slumped onto the chair. She rejected him instantly. Being an official was so troublesome. Father Neo forced her to water the plants as a sect master every day. Would the Celestial Emperor still have time to eat? No way. Chu Xian paused. Exalted Goddess. You don't have to say any more. She won't go. Lone Moon glanced at a certain sleepy foodie. What Celestial Emperor? In the end, all the work would still be pushed to him. We have enough people in Invincible Sect. If you really can't find anyone, why don't I recommend someone to you? Who? Of course it's Sun Shu. Without hesitation, he betrayed a certain someone for the second time. Didn't he become an immortal emperor recently? What's more, he's a sword immortal. In terms of cultivation, he's not weaker than the Celestial Emperor, right? Everyone thought about it carefully. That was true. Although there was a huge difference between an immortal emperor and a celestial emperor. Sword cultivators were stronger than other cultivators. If he succeeded as celestial emperor, it would definitely convince the masses. But even if Sun Shu succeeded as celestial emperor, he could only take over one continent. Bai Ti reminded them, Sun Shu was only an immortal emperor after all. He could take over one continent, but if he took over the Bo Si and Yi Shui at the same time, the immortals would definitely be unhappy. What about the other continent? Why are you looking at me? Lone Moon rolled his eyes. I've already helped you find one. Can't you guys decide the other one by drawing lots? The celestial emperors fell silent. Just as they were about to recommend a few more people, a loud rumble came from outside the hall. Large amounts of immortal chi surged and filled the entire hall. It was so thick that it almost solidified. Everyone was shocked. One by one, they flew out of the hall. Only then did they realize that the sky had suddenly darkened. Thunderclouds filled the sky. The surrounding immortal chi was surging wildly towards the back of the hall. The oppressive pressure made even the celestial emperor's hearts palpitate. And in the center of the layers of immortal chi, I Ching held a plate of pastries in one hand and a rolling pin in the other. He stood in the center looking lost. I Ching, this is your heavenly tribulation. Lone Moon immediately guessed what was going on. How can this be? I Ching looked up at the sky. Only then did he react. In a flash, he appeared in front of everyone. He hurriedly handed the plate in his hand to Shening. Master, your osmanthus cake. Oh, thank you for your hard work. Shening took it. He immediately turned to look at Lone Moon. Father Nio. Got it. Wasn't it just cooking? Every time the heavenly tribulation came, he had to say this. How annoying. Lone Moon immediately waved his hand to chase him away. Hurry up and leave. The lightning is about to strike. It will strike the sect. I Ching nodded. He turned and rode his sword into the distance. He even forgot to put down the rolling pin in his hand. Indeed, in less than 5 minutes, a dazzling bolt of lightning descended from the sky. It struck directly in I Ching's direction. Even the ground shook. Young Emperor I Ching has actually ascended. Congratulations. The celestial emperor's eyes lit up. They exchanged glances. Young Emperor I Ching seems to be a sword immortal too. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. Damn it. He still couldn't avoid it. If he had known, he wouldn't have recommended Sun Shu. Young Emperor Lone Moon. It looks like the position of Celestial Emperor Sun Hai. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He pulled out the jade flute from his waist and said seriously, the Celestial Emperors are right. Since the candidates have been chosen, why don't we talk about something else? For example, the cost of your lodging in my invincible sect, water and electricity bills, the service fees for the disciples and so on. With that said, the flute in his hand shook and instantly turned into a white jade abacus. Damn it, you've created so much trouble for me. If I don't skin you alive, my surname isn't Neo. The Celestial Emperors. Chapter 221. I Ching's heavenly tribulation came so suddenly that even he did not notice it. But too many things had happened in the past few years. Breaking the divine bell, fighting on the Emperor Ascension stage, and then the sect war. After fighting so many battles, even he could feel the opportunity to become an immortal emperor. It was normal for I Ching the cheat to be able to break through. But for some reason, his lightning tribulation this time seemed to be extra long, and the lightning tribulation in the sky was louder than the one before. Every strike seemed to break through the sky. The heavenly tribulation should have been over in 4 to 5 days, but now it dragged on for half a month. Lone Moon looked at the lightning in the sky and had a bad feeling. After the thunder tribulation, there were 36 desolate lights. However, for some reason the desolate fire, which should have been fiery red, had turned into a purple heavenly flame. The sky was covered in purple light, and it burned for 6 days and 6 nights. Lone Moon was shocked and silently complained about the cheat. Such a strong heavenly tribulation, and yet he did not use any defensive measures, and just withstood it. A month later, the tribulation clouds in the sky finally dispersed, and I Ching returned. His dharma robe was torn in several places, and his hair that used to be tied up was loose behind him. It was obviously messy and dispirited, but somehow harmonious. Especially the immortal chi around him was 10 times thicker than before, and just looking at him made one feel a faint pressure of a celestial emperor. Wait, celestial emperor pressure? Lone Moon. Son of AB *th. Shening. Ah, I'm ready to talk to you about life, now immediately right now. Shening. I Ching. Ching successfully became a celestial emperor, and became the Bo-Si emperor. As the human resources director of Invincible Sect, Lone Moon changed his previous attitude of declining, and immediately decided to move the whole sect to the heavens beyond heaven, so quickly that the other emperors doubted their ears. To this, Lone Moon rolled his eyes, and made a lot of calculations. Nonsense, in the previous sect war, the palaces in the sect were almost destroyed, and could not be repaired. Where would they sleep if they did not move? And the only valuable immortal herb in the back mountain had almost died because of Lan Hua's demonic energy array. Therefore, after the disciples were done packing up the storehouse, they only needed to collect the immortal vein in the back mountain. The speed at which they moved was unimaginably fast. In less than an hour, more than 200 disciples had already set off in a grandiose manner. To save trouble, Lone Moon asked Lan Hua to tear open the void, and open the teleportation array directly to the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace, in the name of food expenses. Almost instantly, a large group of disciples appeared outside the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace. The immortal official who had just received the news of welcoming the new Celestial Emperor. Greetings, greetings, Celestial Emperor. The immortal official who was guarding the door was stunned for a moment before he reacted. He hurriedly cupped his fists and bowed to I Ching. The titular Celestial Emperor I Ching nodded nonchalantly. After all, he was only in charge of cooking. Lone Moon looked around and frowned. Where are the other immortal officials? Why are you the only one in the Elysium? During the month of I Ching's tribulation, he had crammed all the information about the Bo-Si Heavenly Palace. Normally, there would be at least 6 mystic immortal officials guarding the Heavenly Gate. 2 months ago, the Celestial Emperors had already announced I Ching's succession to the Bo-Si Celestial Emperor to the entire immortal realm, fearing that they would go back on their word. Just half an hour ago, he had also sent a message to the managing immortal official. No matter how fast they came, it was impossible that there would only be one person at the Heavenly Gate to welcome them. The immortal official's face paled. Something flashed across his eyes. He stuttered for a while, but could not give a reason. Lone Moon's expression darkened. He released his young emperor's immortal pressure. Where is the managing immortal official in charge of the Heavenly Palace? The immortal official's face paled even more. His legs turned to jelly, and he was about to speak when a smiling voice came from behind. The new Celestial Emperor has arrived. Pao Hui did not go out to welcome him. I hope the Celestial Emperor will not blame me. A person suddenly flew over from the right side of the Heavenly Gate. He had the cultivation of an exalted immortal, and was dressed in the robes of an immortal official. He smiled kindly. He was clearly apologizing, but there was no hint of guilt in his tone. He bowed slightly towards I Ching and smiled even more brightly. I thought that the Celestial Emperor would need at least a month to arrive. I did not expect you to arrive so quickly. Pao Hui was not prepared in advance. I am sorry. He apologized profusely and stepped aside warmly, acting like a host welcoming guests. I will bring the Celestial Emperor to the Heavenly Palace now. It was not just Lone Moon. Even I Ching frowned, but he could not tell what the problem was. You are the managing immortal official in charge of the Heavenly Palace? That's right. The person smiled even more kindly. Where are the others? Pao Hui looked like he was in a difficult position. He did not know where to start. After a while, he sighed and said, Sai, you may not know this. Now that the demonic world has appeared, and this place is close to it, we have just lost Celestial Emperor Zichen. The immortal officials are already panicking, and do not dare to stay in the Heavenly Palace. The new celestial emperor came in a hurry. I can't gather them in such a short time. Is that so? Lone Moon scanned him from head to toe, and his eyes turned cold. This reason was really reasonable. The smile on Pao Hui's face froze. He subconsciously avoided Lone Moon's gaze, and continued to lead the way. New celestial emperor, please. Lone Moon did not ask further. He nodded at I Ching, and led the group towards the heavenly palace. After flying for less than half an hour, Pao Hui suddenly stopped. He pointed at the majestic palace hidden in the clouds and said, New celestial emperor, this is the main hall of the heavenly palace. Celestial Emperor Zichen used to discuss matters here. With that, he turned and flew towards the palace behind without waiting for the group to react. He did not look like he was bringing them in. A while later, the same thing happened. New celestial emperor, this is the Purple Light Palace. It is where the emperors of the Bo Sea meet. It's a pity that the country emperors did not make it here in time. Please forgive us, celestial emperor. New celestial emperor, this is the Yuxian Pavilion. It is where the heavenly palace plants immortal herbs. But the immortal official guarding the pavilion is not here today. We can't enter for now. When the celestial emperor is free, you can come again. New celestial emperor, this is... Pao Hui led the group in a circle. It looked like he had visited every place. But he could find a reason to refuse to enter every place. Even a fool could tell that he was unhappy with I Ching, the new celestial emperor. Yet he had a smile on his face the whole time. He looked like he was thinking about them. It made them feel very frustrated. Yu Hong and the others wanted to refute him several times, but they were stopped by Lone Moon's eyes, until they reached the innermost side hall. This is the treasure-seeking tower. It is the treasure house of the Bo Sea. It is the most important place in the Bo Sea Heavenly Palace. All the immortal treasures of the immortal meridian are here. There is an array set up by Celestial Emperor Zichen. For the sake of the new Celestial Emperor's safety, it is better not to enter. With that said, he was about to turn and lead the group away. Lone Moon, who had been silent the whole way, suddenly stopped him. Fellow immortal, you are wrong. Lone Moon smiled. Since it is such an important place, the Celestial Emperor naturally cannot leave it alone. Don't you think so? With that said, he turned to the side. I Ching. The next moment, a white light appeared in I Ching's hand. An immortal sword appeared in his hand. Wait! Pao Hui's expression changed. He wanted to stop him, but it was too late. I Ching raised his hand and waved. A ray of sword chi appeared, and attacked the palace that was heavily surrounded by array formations. There was a loud bang. All the array formations broke in an instant. The door of the immortal palace opened with a crash. Pao Hui's face was full of disbelief. He did not expect that they would suddenly break the array after a disagreement. Immortal official. Lone Moon gave him a smile that was even brighter than before. He said word by word. Along the way, the immortals of the various palaces have either skipped work or failed to do their jobs. As the immortal in charge, since you cannot control the immortal officials, why don't you get someone else to do it? Yu Hong, send the immortal officials out of the heavens beyond heaven. Yes. He had lived 2 lives. It had been a long time since someone gave him a knife to show his authority. Very good. This person from the Bo Sea Immortal Palace has successfully attracted my attention. Chapter 222. Monarch. Pao Hui was shocked. He looked at I Ching in disbelief, and could not help but take a step forward. I have been an immortal steward of the heavenly palace for tens of thousands of years. Lone Moon laughed coldly and said, You've been a steward immortal official for tens of thousands of years, yet you can't even control the immortals in the palace. Fellow immortal, you're really capable. It seems like there's no reason why Zichen became a demon. Pao Hui was exasperated. He had been the Celestial Emperor's immortal official for so many years. Even though he was only an exalted immortal, even the emperors of the various countries were extremely polite to him. This was the first time someone had made him speechless. Something flashed in his eyes. He took a deep breath and said mockingly, This young lord is really funny. What right do you have to punish me? I am an immortal official of the heavenly palace. Only the celestial emperor can punish me. What's your identity? Those who don't know would think that you're the new emperor. He looked at I Ching provocatively and said, Celestial emperor? You haven't even said anything, and he wants to expel me from the heavenly palace. Don't you think this arrangement is inappropriate? His words were hinting at Lone Moon to overstep his authority and have wild ambitions. Moreover, ever since he entered the heavenly palace, he had indeed been like that. No celestial emperor could tolerate anyone climbing over his head, except for invincible sect. No. I Ching replied instantly. What was wrong? Even the disciples nodded in bewilderment. Disciple 1. Isn't Elder Lone Moon always the one in charge? Is there a problem? Disciple 2. That's right, Sect Master said that if we follow Elder Lone Moon, we'll have food to eat? Elder I Ching is so busy cooking. Just leave the rest to Elder Lone Moon. The third disciple. Huh? So there was an Elder I Ching in the sect? I just found out. Number 4. What? Wasn't the celestial emperor Elder Lone Moon? I always thought it was him. The fifth disciple. Nonsense, the sect leader is clearly the imperial emperor. Lone Moon. Pao Hui. +_+. Who the hell were these people? This was the position of the celestial Varch. Why did they all look as if it was only natural for a young lord to manage the celestial palace? Even the celestial emperor himself had an expression that said, I still have things to do, and the position of celestial emperor can be taken by whoever wants it. W. Yu Hong Siu, send him out. Lone Moon pressed his forehead and scanned the group of troublemakers. Once again, he waved his hand and instructed. Yes. This time, the two of them did not hesitate. Siu went forward and picked him up. She flew towards the entrance of the heavenly palace. Before Pao Hui could react, he was already thrown out of the divine gate. You two. He glared at the two people who flew back without looking back. After a while, he snorted coldly and swung his sleeves. Humph. He was waiting for them to beg him to return. Lone Moon scanned the disciples once more, then waved his hand and said, All of you have heard clearly along the way. The division of labor was the same as before, and everyone went to find their own territory. If there are any problems, find Yu Hong to report them. Dismissed. Yes. Everyone answered in unison, and immediately scattered around excitedly to claim their own territories. I Ching immediately took out pots and pans. Master, I took a look just now. The vast sun hall at the back is not bad. The lighting is good, and it can be seen from the north to the south. It's also big enough to be a kitchen. It just needs to be remodeled. Good job. Shening nodded in agreement. Let's go. Let's find Boss Lon to make a stove. He's very professional. Then you might have to wait for a while. Lan Hua walked over slowly, carrying a huge flower pot in his hands. Radish was working hard to grow dandelions in it. I promised Brother Radish that I would plant it in the immortal plant garden first. Chef, then let's go make some cold dishes first. That did not need a stove. Yes, master, no problem, master. Lone Moon. F** King retard. Wait. Vast Sun Hall? Could that be the first immortal palace at the entrance of the heavenly palace? They wanted to turn the first immortal palace at the entrance of the heavenly palace into a kitchen. You two come back here. Oh, greater than over equal to greater than over equal to. Oh, the entire Bosi heavenly palace had hundreds of palaces and countless small immortal palaces. In the past, there were more than 1,000 immortal officials living in them. Lone Moon understood what Pao Hui was thinking. In the past, the heavenly emperors of Bosi were all Bosi immortals. As an immortal from Feng Song continent, I Ching suddenly became the Bosi heavenly emperor. He could be considered a person who came out of nowhere. As the steward of the entire heavenly palace, Pao Hui naturally had the highest authority apart from the heavenly emperor. The reason why he dared to provoke them was that all the immortals in the heavenly palace were now under his control. It was their first time here. It was not easy to take over such a huge heavenly palace, especially when the other party did not cooperate. The only one who could order everyone around was Pao Hui. So in the end, it would definitely come back to him. When he brought everyone to visit the immortal palace previously, the so-called steward who happened to be absent was all arranged by him. He did this not because he wanted to openly oppose I Ching's ascension to the throne, but because he was mentally unbalanced and wanted to vent. This could be seen from the way he kept calling the new celestial emperor, but never called I Ching's Dao name. But it was understandable that he was unhappy, but that did not mean that they had to give in to him. Who was not a little princess? Why should they give in to his little temper? Lonmun's thinking was very simple. Since you want to skip work, great. Then don't come anymore. Our invincible sect. No. Our invincible heavenly palace is very busy. We have no time for your little temper. The other celestial emperors were indeed short of manpower, but the invincible sect was not. Weren't they uncontrollable? Then don't use them. Anyway, they wanted the palace, not the people. What if the place they were in charge of was sealed, and they could not enter? Just break through and enter again. Anyway, body cultivators had more stamina. What if the immortal officials were not willing to hand over power? Just give them a beating. Anyway, they were invincible. What if the immortal officials went on strike? Just fire them. They were not familiar with them anyway. Keeping them would be a waste of immortal stones. Someone had to tell them who was the boss. As for not having immortal officials familiar with diplomatic work, what if they lost contact with other continents? Haha, they did not dare. They had all the stewards for pills, talismans, arrays, and artifact spirits. They could even produce their own. Whoever was in charge of the invincible sect in the past would still be in charge now. At most, the scale would be larger. So Lonmun did not worry much. In less than half a month, the disciples had already taken over the entire immortal palace on their own accord. They were on the right track at an unimaginable speed. They even casually subdued some small immortal officials, who went with the flow to do odd jobs. And Pao Hui, who had been confidently leading a group of high-ranking immortal officials, who applied for leave, and waiting for news of the new celestial emperor. Not only did he not receive news of internal strife in the heavenly palace, he only received news of one immortal official, after another being chased out of the heavenly palace. Until a month later, everyone could not take it anymore. They all went to the heavenly palace to find out more, only to find that none of them could enter. The immortal officials guarding the gate were also replaced with immortals they did not know. They directly chased everyone out. They almost started fighting. Everyone looked at the gate in confusion. The words "Invincible Heavenly Palace." They could not react for a long time. Only then did they realize that things were out of their control. This new celestial emperor was different from what they had imagined. He really did not seem to be afraid of their threats at all. And they also received a shocking piece of news. Celestial Emperor I Ching of the Bo Si would be holding the sky-bearing grand ceremony in the invincible heavenly palace in 5 days. And they, who should have received the news first, only found out now. Manager Pal, what should we do? Everyone was really panicking. They did not even know about such a big thing. It looked like they were really excluded from the heavenly palace. Pao Hui's expression darkened. After a moment of silence, he gritted his teeth and said, "Let's go. Follow me to the various states of the Bo Si." Chapter 223. 4 days later, the day before the sky-bearing grand ceremony, Elder Lonmun, a disciple, flew into the main hall and bowed with cupped fists. "The 15 country emperors of the Bo Si are here. They are quite early." He thought they would not come. Lonmun raised his eyebrows. "Just make the arrangements. They are not here to celebrate the ascension. They said they have urgent matters to see Celestial Emperor I Ching." The disciple frowned and said awkwardly, "Oh, what matters do they have?" Lonmun put down the schedule. "They said they are here for some cannon fodder?" Pao Hui. "Oh right. They said that the way they handled him previously was biased. So they came together to ask the Celestial Emperor to retract his order." The disciple himself was confused. "I didn't expect this Pao Hui to be so capable." Lonmun laughed coldly. He actually managed to persuade 15 country emperors to come together. But it was useless. "Let's settle this. Where's Chef? Elder Chef? I Ching." Celestial Emperor is cooking in the back hall. The disciple changed his words several times. Let Shuning call him, and tell him to handle it according to what we said before. Lone Moon waved his hand, and continued to work on his abacus. Tomorrow was the day I Ching officially became the Celestial Emperor. All the radishes from all the continents would come. He was still waiting to collect his debts. He had no time to care about those hypocrites. Yes. The disciple immediately left and ran to find Shuning excitedly, in the front hall of the main hall. Since the disciple left, the country emperors had already waited for 4 hours, but the Celestial Emperor did not appear. They could not help but feel even angrier when they heard Pao Hui say that the new Celestial Emperor did not care about the immortals. They did not believe it. They came this time with the intention of testing the new Celestial Emperor. Now it seemed that he was indeed a little arrogant. In the past, no matter how busy Celestial Emperor Zichun was, he still cared about them. He had never made them wait for so long. He did not even serve them a cup of tea. Before meeting, the country emperors were already disgusted by the new Celestial Emperor. Although their cultivation was below the Celestial Emperor, and they were dependent on the Bo-Si, but the countries had always been independent. Even if a new Celestial Emperor had cultivation, it would be very difficult for him to intervene. Moreover, this was a special period. However, no one dared to leave in a huff. After waiting for another hour, they saw the disciple who had reported earlier return. He said that he was going to bring them to meet the god monarch. After he was done, he turned around and flew into the distance, looking like he was in a hurry. The country emperors exchanged glances, and had no choice but to follow. However, he found that he was flying further and further away from the Heavenly Palace's territory. He came to a relatively remote celestial realm. Just as everyone was beginning to suspect that this disciple was up to no good, she stopped and pointed to the front. Che, Celestial Emperor is waiting for you inside. After saying that, he turned around and flew back, even more hurriedly than before. The country emperors were stunned. They looked at the floating rocks in front of them, and saw a person standing on a huge rock in the middle. He was dressed in white and gave off celestial chi. He looked at the crowd coldly, and frowned, as if he was a bit unhappy. Even though he was trying to restrain it, everyone still felt an oppressive immortal pressure. Everyone's heart skipped a beat, and they subconsciously took a step back. They naturally recognized this new emperor. He was the one who beat them up when they attacked Invincible Sect. Emperor I Ching. One of the country emperors took a deep breath and stepped forward to greet him. However, he was interrupted by the person opposite him. Cut the crap. He grabbed something in his hand and pointed it at the crowd. Do it. After he finished speaking, he seemed to realize that something was wrong. He retracted his hand. A white light flashed and the item in his hand turned into an immortal sword. Sword chi filled the air. Everyone. What did he mean? Did he want to fight with them? They didn't want to fight. They just wanted to reason with him. And, wasn't he holding a spatula in his hand just now? It was definitely true. This was the second time they saw it. Was it too late to change now that they realized something was wrong? Straight face, wait. The country emperor shouted. We are here to reason with him. I Ching frowned impatiently. In an instant, he created a sky full of swords and pointed them at the crowd. He answered seriously. I'm being reasonable. Master said that having a strong fist was the most important thing. With that said, he rushed over without waiting for the people opposite him to react. 15 minutes later, the country emperors who fell into a pile. Pao Hui, F*CKU. What happened to avoiding that person called Lone Moon, and meeting the Celestial Emperor directly? The next day the sky-bearing grand ceremony. As the continent closest to the demon realm, the Bo-Si could only be described with one word in the eyes of the entire celestial realm, cold. Even though the demon realm was still peaceful, and the Bo-Si had a new celestial emperor, the immortals felt that it was useless. They were most likely forced to take the blame. One day, this place would become the battlefield between the two realms. Not only the other continents, even the immortals in the Bo-Si thought so. But what surprised the immortals was that on the day of this new celestial emperor's sky-bearing grand ceremony, All the other celestial emperors of the celestial realm were present. All of them had prepared lavish gifts. The gifts piled up on the immortal boats looked like they were going to empty out the other 9 celestial palaces. And the celestial emperors didn't just send people over. Instead, they all went to congratulate him personally. Even the emperors, who had been beaten black and blue the day before, were dumbfounded by this action. They naturally knew that this new celestial emperor was recommended by the other celestial emperors. They had seen his capabilities that day at Invincible Sect. That swordsmanship, that cultivation. Even though he was only a young emperor back then, it was already very shocking. Yesterday's battle made them completely lose the will to resist. The #1 sword immortal in the celestial realm, no. It wouldn't even be an exaggeration to call him the #1 celestial emperor in the celestial realm. But this didn't change the fact that they, like the other immortals, thought that he was just a scapegoat pushed by the other celestial emperors to temporarily stop the demon realm from invading the celestial realm. That was why they dared to look down on this new celestial emperor. But looking at the current situation, it seemed that the celestial emperors didn't mean that. And not only to celestial emperor I Ching, but even to the 200 over disciples he brought with him. They were extremely polite and tolerant. Unfamiliar with the terrain, no one to lead the way, no problem. They could just wait 2 or 3 days and treat it as cultivation. The immortal palace arranged for them was too small for them to stay in, no problem. They could squeeze and sleep on the floor. The journey was long and they were thirsty, no problem. They had water elemental immortals, they could do it themselves. The heavenly palace was understaffed, no problem. We brought a lot of people, don't stand on ceremony. So everyone realized that the people in the entire immortal palace were all immortal officials from other heavenly palaces. As if the one ascending to the throne today was their celestial emperor. Even, just in time, that chicken. Chicken is here. Chu Xian immediately went over. Little Red, what's the matter? The West Palace's array formation was broken by a disciple a few days ago. There's a big hole in the palace. I need to go and fix it, I'm too busy. No problem, leave it to me. With that said, she picked up a piece of wood beside her and flew away out of habit. The country emperors sitting together in the main hall. Were these really the high and mighty celestial emperors? Why were those disciples so familiar with ordering them around? And what was with that satisfied and excited expression? As if he had received some kind of reward. They must have opened their eyes in the wrong way. Chapter 224. The entire heavenly worship ceremony was a joyous and harmonious scene. The more the country emperors sat, the more confused they became. Most of the people who were busy outside were immortal officials from other continents. And from time to time, someone would come in and ask 1 or 2 celestial emperors for help. Slowly, only the country emperors who had nothing to do were left in the hall. For a moment, everyone was restless, feeling that something was not right. They looked at each other for a long time, sitting in this strange mood for a few hours before the ceremony finally began. Celestial Emperor I Ching finally came in. Behind him were the celestial emperors who had just gone out to help, as well as the young emperor called Lone Moon that Pao Hui mentioned. He seemed to be very familiar with the celestial emperors. And as he walked, he chatted happily with the celestial emperors beside him. Only when the celestial emperors returned to their seats did the country emperors heave a sigh of relief. For a moment, they did not look up to care about what they were saying, except for some congratulatory words. Only the young emperor called Lone Moon replied the whole time. Celestial Emperor I Ching did not say a single word. The strange thing was that this seemed very rude, but the celestial emperors did not feel that there was anything wrong with it, as if this was normal. The country emperors could not say anything. They touched the wounds on their bodies, feeling angry and worried. This new celestial emperor was obviously unmoved by force or persuasion. Their days in the future would not be so easy. Originally, when I Ching fought against the various continents' country emperors in the Invincible Sect, there would always be 1 or 2 who were unhappy with him. Taking advantage of this ceremony, they wanted to add oil to the fire and take the opportunity to vent their anger. But they did not expect that not only were all celestial emperors, their warm attitude was not like that of a celestial emperor, but more like that of a little immortal official from the invincible palace. Their hopes were dashed, and they could not say anything, until it suddenly darkened outside. The heavenly palace, which was originally filled with immortal chi, suddenly had a gust of cold wind, and the next moment the sky darkened. A black aura came from the heavenly gate, and even the country emperors could not help but feel a chill in their hearts. "This is demonic chi," one of the country emperors exclaimed, and the originally bustling hall fell silent. Everyone turned to look, and indeed, a large amount of demonic chi was flying over, and a disciple hurried in to report. "Reporting to Sect Master, the Demon King and the 10 Skyfiends have arrived." Demon King! The people in the hall all took a deep breath, and the 10 celestial emperors' faces changed. They looked nervously at the large area of devil chi outside. Even young Emperor Lone Moon, who had been smiling, frowned. A moment later, he waved his hand and said, "Let them in." Why was he here too? The Demon King had actually come. The various monarchs' expressions tightened at first, then their eyes lit up. Joy surged from the bottom of their hearts, and they instantly felt as though they had vented their frustrations. Heavenly Emperor succeeding the throne, the fiend race running over. This was clearly a demonstration of force. The Bo Si was near the demon realm, and it was a big day in the celestial realm. Now that the Demon King came personally, it would be strange if there was no conflict. So what if Emperor I Ching was on good terms with the other celestial emperors? No matter how powerful he was, he couldn't stop the entire demon world alone. At that time, it would be the country emperors like them who would be helping to protect the Bo Si. Not only did he not treat them well in front of the enemy, he even used them to establish his dominance. Let's see what he can do now. The country emperors instantly felt a sense of exaltation. They looked forward to the new celestial emperor making a fool of himself and regaining some of the face they had lost. They couldn't help but look at the 10 black figures walking out of the demonic chi at the door. They saw them walk quickly through the door, walk quickly into the hall, and then they all knelt down in the hall. The country emperors. The celestial emperors. What the hell? For all. The little king of the demon realm leads the 10 Skyfiends to greet the exalted goddess. The Demon King cupped his fists and bowed deeply to the person in front of him 3 times. The Skyfiends following behind him also bowed to the ground in unison, their attitude as respectful as it could be. "Hey, little black." Shening, who was busy nibbling on a fruit, raised her hand and greeted. "Do you want to sit?" She turned to look, only to find that there were no empty chairs beside her. "Thank you, exalted goddess. I'm fine standing, very fine." The Demon King chuckled, then got up and stood to the side obediently. The 10 Skyfiends behind him were also like quails, quickly standing behind him, not even daring to raise their heads. The atmosphere in the hall instantly became a little strange. The Demon King's standing seemed to have triggered some kind of punishment mechanism. So, the celestial emperors also stood up. Since the Demon King had already stood up, in order to show that the immortal and demon realms were on good terms, they had to stand up as well. Then the country emperors also stood up. Since the celestial emperors had already stood up, they had to stand up as well. Then, the congratulatory immortals stood up. Since the celestial emperors had already stood up, they had to stand up as well. For a moment, the entire hall was filled with people standing up, except for a certain person who had been sitting at the very top, nibbling on a fruit and never stopping. The entire hall reverberated with the sound of crunching, chewing. 3 minutes later, perhaps because the situation was too awkward, the Demon King was afraid of dampening the exalted goddess's mood, so he spoke up. "We rushed over as soon as we received the news. I am here to congratulate the exalted goddess on becoming an emperor." The Demon King smiled even more brightly, his face full of sincere praise. The exalted goddess really deserves this position. Under the leadership of the exalted goddess, the Bo Si will definitely become better and better. If there is anything in the future, The demon realm will be at the exalted goddess's disposal. We will go to. I say, Little Black. Shening interrupted. Little Black is here. The one becoming the celestial emperor is not me. She pointed to the person beside her and said, It's Chef, Little Black. All the celestial emperors. All the country emperors. He didn't even know who the celestial emperor was. And he just came over to suck up to her. Was the demon realm so shameless? All the country emperors felt that this plot was a little surreal. Wait, all the country emperors looked confused. Who was the person sitting at the top? Wasn't the celestial emperor I Ching? When did she sit there? Why was I Ching standing behind her, and looking so natural? Why did everyone in the hall turn a blind eye to her? As if there was no problem with this arrangement at all. The key was, why did they only realize now that the person sitting at the top was her, and not I Ching? Congratulations, Celestial Emperor Chef, on inheriting the throne. Little Black changed his tone and immediately said, The Celestial Emperor Chef really deserves this position. Under the leadership of the Celestial Emperor, the Bo-Si will definitely become better and better. If there is anything in the future, the demon realm will be at the exalted goddess's disposal. We will go through fire and water without hesitation. Shening. I Ching. Celestial emperors and country emperors. Too shameless. This guy changed it at the last minute, right? Even the lines he said were exactly the same. And what Celestial Emperor Chef? He didn't even know the other party's name. Are you sure the demon realm isn't here to be funny? All the country emperors faintly felt that there was a sound of something collapsing in their minds. Instantly, they felt that the great war between immortals and demons might never happen again. They should just go back and be honest immortals in the future. To hell with Pao Rui. It was all his fault. The entire heavenly consecration ceremony ended in an exceptionally harmonious atmosphere. Until they left, all the country emperors were confused. They didn't know if it was because of the crowd's attitude, but they didn't dare to show the slightest bit of dissatisfaction in front of I Ching. All of them tucked their tails between their legs and became immortals. The entire Bo-Si was originally under the jurisdiction of the Celestial Emperor. They must be crazy to believe Pao Rui's words and think that the situation in Bo-Si would be different now. Chapter 225. Late at night, back palace kitchen. Exalted Goddess, I found out what you asked me to investigate previously. The Demon King lowered his voice and said seriously. So fast. Lone Moon turned back in surprise. How is it? Young Emperor's guess was right. The former Demon King might really still be alive. The Demon King nodded. I sent 10 Skyfiends to scout around the demon world. Indeed, many demons claim to have seen his tracks. Lone Moon frowned. Ever since he saw that damned demonic book, he guessed that the person behind the scenes, even if it was not the former Demon King, was closely related to him. Where is he? I don't know yet. The Demon King shook his head. I only heard some rumors, but the location is very complicated. There is no accurate address at all. I also interrogated those demons who were hiding in the immortal world. According to them, the former Demon King has lost contact with them for hundreds of thousands of years. They don't even know that the Demon King of the demon world has changed. Even that Skyfiend called Zichen. This was difficult. Lone Moon's frown deepened. If even Little Black could not find him, then the others would not be able to. Then how did you become the Demon King? Shening suddenly asked. The Demon King faltered. He did not understand why she asked that, but still answered honestly. I defeated the former Demon King, so naturally I am the new Demon King. He said with some pride. The demons were always simple and violent. Whoever was strong was the Demon King. Back then, I beat him up like a grandson. I thought he was dead. I didn't think he. That means you were the last person to see him. Shening said. Huh. The Demon King was stunned. Lone Moon's eyes brightened. He pulled Little Black over and asked, Where did you fight? Near the joyous melody abyss in the demon world, the Demon King replied. The Demon King replied. At that time, our cultivation levels were equal, and we fought for 7 to 8 days. In the end, I used all my strength to disperse his demon spirit, and he fell into the joyous melody abyss. He shouldn't have survived. Could he be hiding there? Where is the joyous melody abyss? If he guessed correctly, the former demon king had deliberately faked his death. The joyous melody abyss is in the easternmost part of the demon world. It's near the border. They had chosen to fight there, because they were afraid of destroying the demon world. Let's go now and take a look there. All right. The demon king nodded, just as the two of them were about to leave the house. Have a safe trip. A familiar voice sounded behind him. Loman's footsteps faltered as he walked out of the door. His face darkened. He turned around and picked up a certain someone who was still slumped on the chair. You go too. But Master Shi. And you. He turned to look at a certain someone who was holding a plate of flavored prawns. I Ching. Master hasn't even eaten supper yet? Shenning. Damn it. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have said anything. Little Black. This young Lord Lone Moon seemed to be even more powerful than Exalted Goddess. He had one more thigh to cling to. 3 days later, in the demon world's joyous Lulin Abyss. The reason why the joyous Melody Valley was called this was because there were many narrow valleys there, especially one that was so deep that one could not see the bottom. It would take 4 to 6 hours to reach the bottom of the valley. Moreover, there was a strong wind in the valley. Every time the wind blew, the entire valley would resound with all kinds of echoes. It was like a piece of music reverberating in the valley, hence the name, Joyful Melody Valley. This was the border of the demon realm. Further east was the land of nothingness. The demonic chi here was thin, and it was a barren land. There were no signs of human habitation within a radius of 1,000 miles. There had never been any demons who set foot here. Back then, the demon king thought that the former demon king Zhanting was dead because he had destroyed his demon spirit and knocked him into the deepest valley. But from the looks of it now, this is what you meant by uninhabited? The corner of Loman's mouth twitched. He pointed at the demonic city in front of them, which was even larger than the invincible palace. Uninhabited my *s. Wasn't there a freaking demonic city at the bottom of this valley? These densely packed figures, if they weren't demons, could they be immortals? The demon king was also confused. He didn't know that there was such a huge demonic city at the bottom of this valley. I don't know what's going on either. The demon king stared at the demonic city in front of him. His legs turned to jelly as he hurriedly hugged Shenying's thigh. Exalted Goddess, listen to my explanation. If I really knew, I wouldn't have brought you here. Alright. Lone Moon sighed. Look at how useless he was. Did he become the demon king by acting cute? Let's go into the city and take a look. It looks like that Zhanting is most likely in this city. Wait. Seeing that they were about to enter the city, the demon king hurriedly took out a few black talismans. Exalted Goddess, these are the demon-gathering talismans that I prepared. They can gather demonic chi around your body. This way, other people won't be able to see the immortal chi on your body. When immortals entered the demonic city, they were like lighted lamps. Any demon would be able to see through them at one glance. If that Zhanting was really in the city, it would be easy to alert the enemy. Thank you. The three of them took the talismans, and Lone Moon immediately stuck them on his body. Indeed, very quickly, like the demon king, his body was instantly surrounded by some black demonic chi. Shening looked at it curiously and imitated the two of them, slapping the talismans on her chest. In the next moment, wisps of black chi seemed to be attracted by something and gathered over. The strange thing was that the demonic chi didn't surround her body tightly like Lone Moon and I Ching. Instead, it stopped 1 meter away from Shening. As if it was afraid of something, it didn't dare to move forward, and could only circle around 1 meter away from her. In a short while, it wrapped her up into a 1 meter radius black egg. It's done. Shening looked up. Done my ass. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. This was even more freaking obvious than before, when there was no demonic chi. Are you blind? Where exactly did you see that it's done? I is so troublesome. Shening sighed. How about Little Black, give me another talisman. Alright. The demon king immediately handed over another talisman. Without hesitation, Shenning directly slapped it on her chest. Then the egg became even bigger. I Ching. Lone Moon. Little Black. What the hell? Why didn't even the demonic Chi dare to go near Shenning? Were all things in the demonic world so cowardly? Lone Moon took a deep breath before going forward and pulling off the 2 talismans on Shen Ying's chest. The demonic Chi egg disappeared instantly. You don't have to stick it on anymore. Anyway, with her little presence, it would be difficult for others to find her. Oh. Also, after we enter the city, we'll find a place to rest. You and Chef stay there and don't move. Wait for us to come back, alright? Oh, where are you guys going? What else? A ball of anger surged in Lone Moon's chest. Aren't we here to find the whereabouts of the former demon king Zhanting? Of course we're going to find out. Oh, is that useful? We have to try even if it's useless. Do you think Zhanting is a pie that will fall from the sky if we don't look for him? Thump! Before he could finish, a figure suddenly fell from the sky and landed at the feet of the 4 of them. Instantly, a 1-meter deep human-shaped hole was formed. A man in black was lying in the hole, his entire body twitching. He turned around and revealed a handsome face. Zhanting. Little Black exclaimed. Yo! The Demon King really fell from the sky. Lone Moon. I Ching. Chapter 226. La. Help me. Zhanting reached out a trembling hand from the bottom of the pit. The 4 of them looked at each other. Little Black then took a step forward and reached out to drag him out from the bottom of the pit. Then he tied him up tightly. What are you trying to do? Zhanting was tied up like a dumpling. Only then did he realize that something was wrong. He glared at them. Who are you? I'm warning you. Let me go now or you'll suffer. Zhanting, you're indeed still alive. Little Black glanced at him. Not only that, his cultivation level did not decrease by much. You. Zhanting glanced at him. Then his eyes widened. Li'in, what are you doing here? His expression turned cold and he said warily. I've already given you the position of Demon King. What else do you want? Pooey. Little Black glared at him. I clearly won the position of Demon King with my own abilities. Who wants you to give it to me? Then why did you tie me up? I'm just an ordinary demon living in seclusion in the joyful Melody Valley. I'm not a threat to you. Don't worry. I won't do anything to you. It's just that the exalted goddess wants to ask you a few questions about the past. He said seriously. You better answer honestly. Exalted goddess. Zhanting was stunned. Then he looked at the others. What questions? It's about the time you wanted to send people to open the gates of the demon realm. Lone Moon took a step forward and said in a low voice. Zhanting frowned. Then he nodded and said, All right, I have nothing to hide anyway. Ask whatever you want to know. But I have something urgent to attend to now. You have to let me go back first. The few of them were silent for a while. They turned to look at the demon city not far away and hesitated. Don't worry. Zhanting rolled his eyes. I won't escape. The demons in the city have no fighting spirit. They won't be able to hurt you. Everyone looked at each other. Little Black then untied him and cast a spell to prevent him from escaping. Then they followed him into the city. After the few of them entered the city, they finally understood why Zhanting said that the demons in the city would not be able to hurt them. Because they were weak, they were simply too weak. Along the way, the devils they met on the streets were all ordinary little devils. The highest cultivation was only at the 4th or 5th rank, not to mention the Sky Devil level. Even a Shiana mortal would be able to wipe them out, let alone the fact that the weakest among them was a young lord. Everyone was a little surprised. They didn't expect that such a large demon city would be filled with low-level demons. Zhanting walked very quickly, as if he was really in a hurry to do something. As he walked, he urged them, Aya, you guys should walk faster. It'll be too late if you're late. The few of them were dumbfounded. They followed him all the way to a tall palace hall before stopping. Unlike the black buildings in the city, this palace was actually white. Zhanting seemed to be extremely familiar with this place, as he led the few of them into the back door. Straight face. After passing through a backyard filled with all kinds of unknown flowers and a clear pond, He finally arrived in front of a small building at the back. The small building was very exquisite. The building was filled with white muslin, and wisps of white aura swept past from time to time. This is... Lone Moon was shocked. He looked at the aura around him in disbelief. Yes, immortal chi. I Ching nodded. There was actually immortal chi in the demon city. Before they could be shocked, Zhan Ting walked forward quickly and stopped in front of the small building. Then, without any hesitation, he knelt in front of the door and shouted loudly, "Wife, your husband was wrong. I shouldn't have disobeyed you and wandered around instead of cultivating. I shouldn't have fought with little demons and bullied the weak. I shouldn't have ignored my duties and only wanted to stay in your house. I shouldn't have wanted to kill the little demon next door just because he looked at you. I'm really wrong. I won't dare to do it again. On account that I've knelt outside for 3 days, can you let me in?" Shuning. I Ching. Lone Moon. Little Black. What the hell? It turned out that he had rushed back in such a hurry just to apologize to his wife. Wife. Zhan Ting was already scratching the door anxiously. He howled loudly, and his words were numbing. I haven't seen you for 3 days. My heart is breaking. It's all my fault. Just let me in, okay? I promise I won't do it again. Just come out and see me, alright? Before he finished speaking, a gust of immortal chi suddenly came from inside the house. It controlled the white muslin downstairs and whipped it towards Zhan Ting. With a loud slap, he was sent flying back into the courtyard and even rolled twice. A clear palm print appeared on his originally handsome face. Zhan Ting was not angry. Instead, his eyes lit up as if he had received a great reward. He climbed up excitedly and pounced towards the door. Wife, you're finally willing to care about me. I knew that you still care about me. As long as you can forgive me, feel free to hit me. With that said, he raised the other half of his face and moved closer. Everyone. King retard. Instantly, they understood who the person in the house was and why there was immortal chi here. 2 words appeared in their minds, Cui Hua. Is there anyone else? A cold female voice suddenly came from inside the house. Zhan Ting was stunned, as if he just remembered that there were people following behind him. He turned and glared at them before answering. It's just some people who are unwilling to give up. Wife. Just as he was about to explain, the door creaked open. In an instant, an immortal aura that was even denser than before flowed out from the inside. A figure slowly walked out. She was dressed in white, and her hair was as black as ink. Her expression was a little cold, but her beauty was astonishing. Like an orchid in an empty valley, she gave people an inexplicable sense of holiness. She seemed to be the most perfect masterpiece of the heavens. No one could find a single flaw. The 4 people present were all stunned. They had seen many beauties before, but it was the first time they had seen someone so beautiful. Even Shuning, who was a woman, was shocked. Wife. Zhan Ting instantly stuck towards the person inside the house like a soft worm. However, when he was swept by the other party's cold gaze, he froze on the spot and looked aggrieved. I said, don't appear in front of me again. The woman's brows furrowed slightly. Wife, I was really wrong. Zhan Ting looked like he was about to cry. Please forgive me. I promise to listen to you in the future. I will definitely not pester you in the morning. I will stop as many times as you want me to. Before he could finish speaking, the woman's expression darkened. She waved her hand and conjured a wind spell, sweeping him up and throwing him out. Zhan Ting instantly turned into a black dot in the sky and disappeared in the courtyard. Shunning. I Ching. Lone Moon. Little Black. Did they just hear some sexual content? Chapter 227. You're from the immortal world? The woman looked at the crowd in surprise. She frowned and asked worriedly, why did you come to the demon realm? The few of them were stunned for a moment. They did not expect that she would be able to see through their identity at a glance. Immediately, they turned their heads to look at her. What kind of lousy talisman was this? Little Black. What does this have to do with me? I don't know how she could tell. You don't have to be nervous. I mean you no harm. As if sensing their concerns, the woman explained. I just didn't expect that there would be other immortals in the demon realm other than myself. She made a hand seal, as though she was dispelling some sort of technique. In an instant, the immortal chi around her body became even denser, as though it was about to materialize. Heavenly Dharch, Lone Moon exclaimed. He did not expect that she would actually have Celestial Emperor cultivation. No wonder she could see through their identities. Perhaps you have heard of me. She sighed and gave them a kind smile. She said in a low voice, I am Zhuohua, the Bo-Si Celestial Emperor. I Ching. Shening. Little Black. Bo. See. The corner of Lone Moon's mouth twitched. He pointed to Chef beside him and said, what a coincidence, he's also the Bo-Si Celestial Emperor. Also, what happened to Cui Hua? How did it become Zhuohua? Was Zhanting illiterate? Zhuohua was shocked. She didn't react until Lone Moon and I Ching took off the talismans in front of their chests. She sighed. After leaving the immortal realm for so many years, I didn't expect the Bo-Si to have a new Celestial Emperor. Not only that, but it had been changed twice. Celestial Emperor Zhuohua. Lone Moon stepped forward. Why are you in the demon realm? Could it be Zhanting? Well, not all of them. She frowned, as if she was unwilling to go into details. She invited them to sit at the side before she slowly said, how did you enter the demon world? The demon realm has long been sealed, so it should be impossible for immortals to reach it. The few of them fell silent for a moment. Lone Moon then said in a low voice, don't you know that the immortal realm and the demonic realm have merged into one? What? Zhuohua was shocked. She stood up abruptly and clenched her fists. How could this happen? As expected, the demon race is not worthy of trust. Back then, it was to stop the invasion of the demon world. Who would have thought that the current demon king is also a wolf with wild ambitions? It will definitely trigger a war between the two worlds. Just as she finished speaking, Xiaohei's legs went soft, and he almost fell off the chair. Hey, don't talk nonsense. How am I a wolf with wild ambitions? I didn't do anything, okay? Damn it. What if the exalted goddess misunderstood? He turned around and hugged Xinying's thigh. Exalted goddess, the merger of the two realms has nothing to do with me. You have to believe me. Get lost. His snot was all over his legs. You're the demon king. Zhuohua was shocked. Only now did she recognize Xiaohei. That's right. I'm the demon king Xiaohei, the embodiment of love and justice. My greatest interest in life is peace, the kind that is pure and kind. If anyone dares to start a war between immortals and demons, I will fight them. Exalted goddess, please look at my pure eyes. Lollipop Lone Moon. I Ching. You're a demon king, can't you have some integrity? This is so embarrassing. I really want to pretend that I don't know this fellow. Zhuohua. Isn't the new demon king called Li Yin? Did he change it too? Cough that. Lone Moon coughed and kicked the demon king to the side. Don't worry. The immortal and demon realms have already reconciled. There won't be a war between the two realms. As long as Shening was around, traveling between the immortal and demon realms would be as easy as traveling in a mirror. How can it be? She was shocked and did not look like she had recovered from her shock. The immortals and demons had been at odds for a long time. Both sides had always been at each other's throats. She did not expect that there would be a day when they would reconcile. Celestial Emperor Zhuohua, we're here this time because of the gate to the demonic realm. We have some questions to ask the former demon king Zhanting. Lone Moon hesitated for a moment, but still told her their purpose. The gate to the demonic realm? Zhuohua frowned. Lone Moon thought that she would not agree easily. After all, her staying in the demon realm must have something to do with Zhanting. He thought for a moment and added, we feel that the merging of the immortal and demon realms this time has something to do with the gate to the demonic realm that Zhanting left in the immortal realm. So, all right. Surprisingly, she agreed immediately. She turned to look at the door and said coldly, get in here. All right, I'm coming. Zhanting instantly flashed in from outside the door and smiled brightly. Madam, you're finally willing to see me. I knew that your heart is still aching. Shut up. Oh. Zhanting immediately turned into an aggrieved quail. Zhuohua seemed to be too lazy to care about him. She turned to look at them. Please ask whatever you want. With that said, she glared at Zhang Ting. Answer them properly. All right, madam, no problem, madam. Zhang Ting immediately stood up straight. He was as obedient as he could be. He turned to look at them, but his expression changed instantly. He returned to his domineering demon king appearance. It was a seamless change. What is it? Ask quickly, I'm busy. Everyone. The demon realm was indeed a place without integrity. Lone Moon was the first to react. He asked in a low voice. We want to know that the gates to the demon realm were created by you. How did you know that opening the gates at the Emperor Ascension stage would cause the two realms to merge? And the one who pulled Shen Ying and I into this world, was it you? What Emperor Ascension stage? The merging of the two realms? Zhang Ting looked confused. The gates to the demon realm were indeed created by me. When the demon realm was sealed, Cui Hua and I were separated by two realms. That was why I took advantage of the loosening of the seal, to send the demons under me to the immortal realm, and set up the gates to the demon realm, at a specific location in the Bo Sea. Bo Sea? Lo Moon was shocked. He suddenly had a bad feeling. Could it be? That's right. Zhang Ting nodded and said with some pride. Cui Hua was the celestial emperor of the Bo Sea at that time. Of course the gates had to be set up there. That gate was actually just a special teleportation array, and it had to be assembled to be useful. That was why once the gates were set up, I activated the array and brought her over. Ha ha ha. Holy shit. Indeed, this outcome was not surprising at all. What was going on? Then why did the demons you sent all think that the gates to the demon realm were a passageway that connected the two realms? Otherwise, Zichen would not have tried so hard to open the gates. Oh, that was because I lied to them. Zhang Ting answered calmly. If he did not make a big fuss, who would be willing to help him find a wife in the immortal realm? Actually, that gate could not be opened at all. Everyone. Damn it, he was too shameless. So the so-called plan to invade the immortal realm was just a scam to find a wife? Suddenly, they wanted to light a candle for the demons who had been hiding in the immortal realm for so many years, just to open the gates to the demon realm. Such a henpecked man could not be the mastermind, definitely. Back then, I was indeed teleported to this realm by the demonic gate. Zhuohua stepped forward and explained. That gate had a disguise spell on it, but it was really just a teleportation array. And after it was teleported once, it should have lost its effect. Lone Moon fell silent, his frown deepening. They had seen the gates to the demon realm twice. That was clearly a passageway that connected the two realms, and then it directly merged the two realms. But there was no need for Zhang Ting to lie to them. If the gates to the demon realm were really just a teleportation array, then something must have happened along the way. But who could have tampered with the gates to the demon realm? And these demonic gates were only set up in the Bo Sea. But the first time they saw them, they were at Feng Tsang's invincible sect. They kept feeling that this matter was getting more and more complicated. All the clues from before came to an abrupt end here. For a moment, everyone was silent. Chef, do you have a pen and paper? Shen suddenly spoke. This? I Ching faltered. After a while, he took out a piece of white cloth and a bowl of black liquid. Master, will brocade and soy sauce do? He only brought these. Will do. She took them and placed them on the table. What are you doing? Lone Moon asked curiously. Shen did not answer. I Ching had already conjured a brush and passed it over. Only then did she start drawing on the brocade. After a while, she put down the brush and pointed to the pattern on it. Have you seen this before? Everyone looked down and saw a crooked pendant drawn on the white cloth. It looked like a jade pendant. The style was also very ordinary, but there was a strange pattern drawn in the center of the jade. Zhang Ting's eyes widened. This pattern is that you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.